Hello, and welcome to Reaper Miniatures. Welcome to Reaper Errant. I like Bobby's way. It's stately. We're going to play some Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. We might see, before we get going, some questions, though, about leveling up. But before we get to any of those questions, because everybody did level up.
Wow.
But before we get to those questions, I know level 8's pretty awesome. I want to say some thank yous. I want to say thank you to Reaper Miniature for making this possible. Thank you to Sirenscape for the background and ambient music that you will hear tonight. Thank you to Gene's Donut Hole.
Gene still can't find his hole.
Still packed away.
Thank you to all the players and everybody watching as well.
Fiber generally helps that, Gene. If your hole gets packed away too much.
I also want to say thank you to Justin, who's behind the scenes, just switching shots. He told me today on Reaperland. That's Reaperland, right? I was in Reaperland.
What
Reaperland?
Did it involve marble games?
Yeah, it involved marbles and John. So that's Reaperland, right? Yeah.
Reaper has more programs than this?
Not that clearly I don't know the names. But Justin said he tries to keep this laid back and casual, which I appreciate. So thank you for that, Justin, and thank you for being here operating the computer. My name is Frank, and I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves and who they are playing. I might just parade them around up here since, we have this shot opening of them. So why don't I do that? I'm going to start in the upper left with Bobby.
Bobby.
Hello again. Welcome and good evening. My name is Bobby Jackson. I'm playing Pugh, the mighty and indomitable gnome bard, armed with my trusty war harp and positive mental attitude.
I love it. Thank you. Gene.
Hi, I'm Gene Van Horn. I'll be playing Gooseneck, the lizard folk barbarian. And I'm ready to whackety whack with my axe.
As always. I love it.
As always.
Jason.
I'm Jason Wiebe. I'm playing Corncob Thunderbludgeon, who basically just revels in everyone else's shadow and brilliance.
Thank you, Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm playing Abran, the more mighty and totally abdominal wood elf ranger with an attitude problem.
Oh,
and as we learned in text today, Abran is stabby from a distance.
Stabby from a distance. Okay, I like it. Rhonda.
I'm Rhonda Bender, and I'm playing Fathom the Magic User, and I've decided to, based on recent experiences, branch my offensive magic out from just fire. Maybe fire doesn't solve all the problems.
Wow, that's a big step in the world of magic.
I know.
Fire's pretty awesome.
But it doesn't solve all the
ask
problems.
the Ramirez. I hate those guys.
All it takes is a little outside perspective, though, and see how Abran uses fire, and you can learn fire doesn't solve all the problems. And Jen.
I'm Jen. I'm playing Kay Nimblewit, a human rogue, and I'm really curious to find out what Abran's whoopee does, given all the stuff we had to go through to get it for him.
For him, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he owes us big time. I think we put a cash value on it, and he has to work it off.
Oh, wow. Based on what it is, or like before you find out what it is?
Well, he can do it by killing things. I don't care how he does it.
No, I mean, how are you going to find the cash value of it?
We're going to make it up.
Hey, guys, it's a long, long ship voyage. I bet you there are other islands that just might be themed towards each of our characters. Just saying.
Are you implying that I am giving an island to all the players? Is that
so? We just left Abran's Island, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
You better tell our little morsel guy that.
I'm not implying anything.
I like it.
Hey, Frank.
Yes.
I'm going to make a decision, a permanent decision.
Oh.
I want to change my my feat to Fey touched,
Oh, okay.
and
Ooh.
I'll take the +1 in my wisdom.
Okay. We will do that. I
Thank
love
you.
it. All right.
Where did the
Changing
Fey
your feet.
touch you? Can you show them on the doll?
I've also been Fey
I could
touched. so
I could
something-
jump 30. I could jump 30 feet. I could jump 30 feet for my little backup action. So I'm going to be a damn fast dwarf in otter pants.
Oh,
I like it. Okay. Okay.
Aqua Dwarf can jump.
I know. I feel like we're getting closer and closer to the actual Aquaman comic book
Yeah.
character build.
I'll be popping around like popcorn.
I was wondering if he's just a
Popcorn
dolphin
cob.
now,
That's
or-
what they'll call me. Popcorn cob.
If he's just a dolphin. Oh, okay. I like it.
He's a dolphin in disguise.
You said Fate touched wisdom, right?
Fey touched with the bonus and wisdom. Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. You got it. All right. So, let me do a quick little rundown on where we left off for all those who are watching who do not know or who is interested in how we move on from here. And I'm thinking how far back I go. Obviously, the adventurers are on a ship. They're on the Silver Swan, and it is captained by the captain Maloris, and they call her Mal. They've got, I think they have spent the most amount of time, though, with the ship's navigator and cartographer, Morgoth Arbothius, the gnome navigator, who they just took to this island as the rest of the crew had to careen the ship and make some repairs. And on this island, they found some ancient runes that seemed to be elven in nature. Abram stabbed his sword into the sword hole, and out popped a hydra and began some sort of challenge that the elf only could invoke. They defeated the hydra, then jumped down into its hole, and then traveled the passage. I had to rethink.
Abran let that one go.
Yeah.
I'm making mental note.
Traveled in a cavern-like passage for a little while when it turned to ice, magical in nature. They broke through an ice wall and defeated a Remoraz, and both of these enemies faded away when they were defeated. In the case of the final enemy, or the final trial that had to be defeated, the Remoraz, all that fell fluttering to the ground was a wonderful blue cloak, really, that when Abran immediately put it on, it felt it was destined for him. Oh, look at that.
A blue puffy cloak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Said it was warm.
Yeah, it makes you feel warm and protected, and I don't know, it feels very comforting.
Does he
you
want
put
his
it on.
Oki's farm?
Then you went back to the ship, where, as they were finishing up repairs and getting it sorted, Abran had found a little bit of time with it. Abran, so we'll start with you finding time with your, well...
Can we
time with your
fast
cloak.
forward to the part where he's found time with it?
No.
I'm just saying.
Oh, this is
Terms of
this
service.
is a travesty.
Terms of service.
Which of you is bunking with him?
Oh,
Well,
he's gonna be in front of the Plano
supposed-
City Council
No.
here pretty quick.
It's Pugh that's bunking with Abram. But it's before you get onto the ship, before you get onto it. So you realize, Abram, that this cloak it's a wondrous item. It does a number of things, however. The most obviously prominent is it protects you from the cold. So, all cold damage you are resistant to, and cold environments you can walk normally in while you're wearing this. It doesn't impact you. You don't need 7 layers of cloak if you're in negative 40 temperatures. You are perfectly fine as long as this cloak is on. One of the other things it does, though, which was...
That's more.
It does more, which is a little well, so one of the other things it does is it allows you to hide better, camouflage in snowy, wintry, mountainy environments. It is not...
Does it have to be snowy mountainy, or could
Yeah,
it be normal mountainy?
Mountainy is okay. It's not good at foliage. It's good at rocks, stones, grays. When I say good,
So
I
no
mean
tinfoil.
very, very good. It gives you essentially a +10 to hiding in those environments.
Does this cloak have a name?
You have no, at least none that you found on it.
Okay.
Cloaky.
Cloaky. Cool.
Uh,
So +10 to hide and protection from cold, or resistance to cold.
Resistant to cold damage and
Cold damage.
I guess protection from it in a more general sense when you're wearing it.
So if a white dragon blew its breath upon me, the cloak would help reduce the damage.
It would be half
Okay.
of whatever your final damage outcome was.
How do I load this up on D&D
On D&D Beyond? Well, I will. You know
Yeah.
what I didn't do? As I sometimes forget that we're using D&D Beyond here. I didn't create you a custom artifact, which I will do this evening, and then put it on your character, and it'll be loaded up.
Well, thank you. Perfect. And
Michael,
its name, and it's the Cloak of Whoopi.
The Cloak of
look for
Whoopi.
the little black
Okay.
tag that says members only.
Or Patagonia. My
There you
Patagonia
go.
jacket. Yeah, Patagonia jacket.
North Face. Okay. All right.
Would you like? I should get inspiration for being prepared with my jacket.
You are really prepared. I was very tempted to give you inspiration, but being the diabolical and evil DM I am, I'm not going to.
Oh,
But I really wanted to. As soon as I saw it come out, I just want you to know that I was like, oh, you deserved inspiration, but I'm not a very nice DM, so you don't actually get it.
Wow. You and Justin are like brown nosing tonight. It's crazy.
Okay, so you're back on the ship. I would like, however,
long rest. Long rest.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Have we
yes.
taken a long rest?
Well, right before your long rest, I would like you to. Well, who's
Roll
this going to
initiative.
be? No. Tempting. We're going to do it randomly. Everybody roll a d20. We're going for highest number.
well, the highest number is 20.
Well, the highest
Oh,
number
you
that
mean
you
you have
all
to roll it? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was a trivia question.
Well, look, I see some people are actually rolling in D&D Beyond, and I can see those rolls.
I thought we were supposed to use these, though.
Yeah, we're using the
some
Reaper
people use Reaper Pizza Dungeon dice, but I think what you've all discovered is that these are very good for dungeon masters.
Actually, I rolled my one good roll of the night. It just happened.
What'd you get?
What'd you get?
19.
Wow.
Ooh, that is good.
Anybody beat a 19?
I got a
eight.
17.
Okay. You just happen, Fathom, as you're walking in to catch a little bit of conversation. Make a perception check. We'll see how much of this conversation you catch.
Yeah, now,
2 high
now
rolls
it's
in a row. That's not going to happen.
13.
That's good. That's good. So you didn't catch all of the conversation, but so obviously you and the rest of your team and Morgott were out for a while, taking care of whatever it was, cartography-wise, mapping the island and discovering ancient ruins. And they found, while you were out there, what you just heard is Thorol, one of the deckhands, went missing for a little while, and they couldn't find him. And then, he wandered back at some point, got properly chewed out by the first mate, and sort of read the riot act a little bit, but they couldn't find him, and it's just a bit of conversation that you overheard that might matter.
Well, since we've had people swapped out before, I believe we should scan that guy a lot.
Okay.
Where did he claim to have gone?
You would have to actually insert yourself in the conversation to ask that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm willing to do that. I'll try to be charming. Say, we were wandering around the island and we didn't really see any signs of anyone else. So did he find something else interesting that we missed at mapping?
Oh, he said he walked the shoreline a little bit, and picked up some shells and some starfish. He brought a conch back, but it was, he should have been helping us repair. It was a bit of a, I guess we were all a little shorthanded.
Is he typically someone who would shirk his duty like that?
No, not usually. I mean, when we go to shore, he goes out sometimes for long periods of time and visits some bars, comes back maybe a little worse off and definitely a lot poorer than the rest of us. But while we're out at sea, he's as solid as a rock. It's just something about when he gets on shore. He just seems to not be part of the family sometimes, if you know what I mean.
Well, there definitely weren't any bars or entertainment on this island. I will tell you that with authority.
There was some entertainment for an evil clone.
There was some entertainment.
Yeah, this is my concern, that he's turned into one of those guys. I'm not saying that to the people in the conversation.
Okay.
When we are alone, I'm going to ask if anyone has any suggestions for how we could study him.
Stab first, ask questions later.
Yep, I say kill him.
We might have to Abran him.
You can't put down too many, or they won't be able to.
We might have to Abran him.
Jump the water.
So there's a little bit of something you picked up you can share. You guys can all work on it independently or execute it as a group. But you did overhear that, Fathom, as you were coming on board. There were two members close enough to be chatting on this. You asked some questions, got some clarifications. Thoril is not a standout deckhand. He just does his job like everybody else here. But then so did those slod imposters too. So I understand you.
Yeah, what do you guys think? If Kay doesn't see anything with your goggles, what if I kind of flash him that control gem and see if he reacts to that? Because a slod would know what that is, right?
Sure, go ahead.
Well, I mean, there's a couple possibilities.
You want us to be behind him?
Then he'll know that we suspect him.
We could sneak up on him.
If he's not a slod, would he know what that is?
Well, no. If he's not a slod, it's not a big deal. But if he knows we suspect him, then he'll try to hide all his behavior.
You could drop it in front of him accidentally. Oops, I dropped it. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
I dropped my slad summoning stone or control stone. Pay no mind to me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This happens all the time. Damn thing.
Kay, you
got
said
some gnome oil on it.
It sounded like you wanted to put forth a couple of different possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that he was, replaced by one of those slod. It could be that he was replaced by something else, or it could be that he's the guy on the ship who's the, undercover agent person. In which case, he wouldn't necessarily register as anything unusual if he's just a guy who happens to be working for the wrong people.
He could also be a guy who just likes shells.
That is also entirely possible.
Yes, maybe an amateur conchologist.
Poor Frank.
As a deckhand, He wouldn't have
Go ahead.
a cabin to
Who's
sleep
only?
on.
Open sleeping area for him, but everybody does have their own box of for storage.
We just killed a Hydra, but Frank seems to have stumped us with the description of this poor mate's behavior.
My job. Pugh, Joel, you said you had a suggestion?
Is there time for us to dispatch our wood elf to track him along the shore and see where he went? Because if he stays along the shore, he should be very easy to follow his footprints.
That is a great question. So this was as everybody was getting on to go. I know you have some longships that are attached to the Silver Swan that are often used to from a distance while you're anchored, put to shore in rocky or more dangerous areas, or just get in closer to shore, pick up water, food, resupply, and restock. Everybody seems to be anxious to get this ship on their way. They want to make port. They want to make it by the right time and then head out to sea. So that is a question for the captain, since Fadlan picked this up pretty much as everybody was boarding to shove off.
Well, I mean, if we're that worried about it, it might be worth the delay to the captain. I would suggest we put it to the captain and say, since we've had slod infestation problems, maybe we ought to investigate with this squirrely behavior. And if the captain's worried, then we do it. And if the captain's not worried, then we sail on. That would be my
and we
I
know
nominate
someone
Pujol to
sabotaged
put
the
it to the
ship.
captain.
We know someone sabotaged ship. That I heard that. Jason, what did you say?
I'm nominating Pujol to go put it to the captain. That's a good plan.
Okay.
And you can help speed us up if need be, right? Pujol?
If I get my rest, I need a long rest.
Well, yeah, and that hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure it will for at least one of you. Pujol, are you going to go talk to the captain?
If the group thinks that's a proper course of action, I'll be glad to do it.
Yes.
I think that's a smart plan.
Anything to get
All
us
right.
off the dime.
I will. I'll go skipping down the companionway and
Oh wait, you're going to skip?
go talk to the captain. I'm a
I
jolly
retract
little
my vote.
bard.
Okay,
I'm
you
embarrassed
find
now.
her sort of just on upper deck, midship, mostly towards front, but she's just, I don't know, seems to be overseeing some things, watching, checking out people, looking at their general course and direction. Not, I don't know, she seems very astute, as though she's taking a lot in, but she's not barking out orders or giving commands. This crew works pretty well as they start to get ready to go.
Is she alone?
I mean, there are people working and moving about that could overhear loud conversation, but she's not alone.
Well, then I will get the captain's attention and respectfully say, let's step over here out of earshot. I have something I'd like to talk to you in confidence that I need your advice about.
Fine then. My cabin.
Okay.
Let's go. And so she takes off, goes in.
All right. I skip off after her.
I picture you skipping every time you say that.
No,
When
it's
did this
eventually,
happen? When did Pujol start skipping?
I like it.
I'm a nature boy. I am a nature boy.
Embrace it.
That's right. I'm embracing my nature boy status.
You
Okay.
did great work out there, Morgott says. So what do you have? What's this about?
Well, I can't recall the name of the crewman. I'm going to say that we overheard some of the crew discussing this fellow. I'll name him. I can't recall.
Thorold,
who apparently
yes.
went ashore unauthorized, and the security crew thinks this is pretty suspicious and squirrely behavior, and might warrant further investigation, seeing as how we've had a recent slod infestation.
Oh.
The ship's been sabotaged and all of the stuff you're aware of. So I volunteer our wood elf to go and scout this guy's activities and see if we can find anything untoward.
Well,
If you can stand the delay, that is.
How much time are we talking about? It doesn't sound like more than half a day.
Oh, our wood elf is quite speedy. Not too bright, but very prompt.
Sounds fine. I mean, to be very upfront, Thoriel has been on our ship for a while and does often find solace off of the sea for whatever reason. And I appreciate him as a deckhand and a fine member of the crew, but the ship was sabotaged, as you say, and I am curious, and safety in this case, I think, is a good idea. So if you wish, please don't take any capital actions, if you don't mind. Leave that to me if something seems amiss. But you have half a day.
Thank you, Your Majesty, or whatever the appropriate nautical term would be.
Are
And,
you going to curtsy now after the skipping?
Yeah, I'll skip back to the crew and report. I think we should dispatch Abran at once.
Someone swapped our gnome for a cherub.
Also, interpreting what the captain said, I think that means you can't Abran on this guy. You can send Abran,
That's right.
but you can't go Abran on this guy.
Exactly. Unless he goes all slod, then it's all bets off.
Well, I mean, the guy's back on the ship with everybody else now, right? We would just be tracking him to see where he went. He isn't there now.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's the idea, at least.
So,
Okay, who's going with Abran? Or is it just Abran?
I'll go with Abran.
All right.
Seems like a
Abran.
second bite at the apple on Abran's Island.
Okay.
Well, shouldn't we all go for safety, or do some of us need to stay and protect the ship?
I think we should have yet another person go along in the Abran party.
I would suggest the whole party go. We don't all have to go along on the little tracking thing, but I think we should all be there.
We come back and the ship is scuttled.
Yeah. The ship seems to be a more secure than the beach.
Okay.
Agreed.
I'm game.
Besides, maybe we find one of those big boars and manage to bring it back for dinner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Okay. So along the beach,
a little schnitzel.
Abran, you're gonna. So you have not a lot of information. You would have found out through conversation which direction up the beach that they went, how long they were gone, everything vital that they could provide, they did. But there's a huge amount of footprints, movement, trees drug around, fires were set, benches were set up, cooking, all kinds of things. So right around the camp, it's a little difficult to start picking up a trail. However, roll a survival check as you begin to look for the path of Thoriel.
And since I'm in my favorite terrain of coast.
That is your favorite terrain, yeah.
Yeah, and so do I get a bonus or I get an advantage?
I think you get advantage on this roll.
Okay. So 18. 18 plus 5, 23.
Okay. Oof, that's good, because 18 wouldn't have done it, but 20 and above does do it. You pick up a set of prints that are moving away. As you kind of make further and further sweeps around, you realize that these are now solo, away from reasonably where anybody would have went were they working on this. And you can see them go off across the bits of sand here and there. As you kind of turn around, remember this island is not massive across, but it is a few miles across at least. So there's a little bit of distance depending on how far they went. But you are moving at a pretty good rate, and you can find there's bits where they go into sand and then back onto coral and then onto rock. Well, dead coral. Move around quite a bit as they're moving through. And then the thing that you all did not find, there is a freshwater stream that seems to split the path as you're walking across it. I need another check for you. The tracks just sort of disappear into it. A check for
I
you to
can-
find.
18 total.
I have a big survival bonus as well.
I mean, that's fair, but you are not a tracker specifically.
Okay.
Or did you? Did we? No, we didn't. Yeah, you're not a tracker.
No, I just have a good survival bonus.
Okay. So, I mean, you approve of everything Abran is doing. He's not doing anything as
No,
a
I don't.
backup on that. Well,
That's
I mean,
the first time that.
as a
That's
tracker.
that's kind of a blanket statement. That's writing him a blank check there.
Okay, not everything.
I
Abran's
can't-
doing.
I can't disagree with that statement at all.
Justin, come again. Okay. So yeah, you come across this stream. You had an 18 total. The tracks you lost into the stream. They do not seem to come out the other side.
Okay.
The
don't
stream
seem
does
to.
go sort of inland a little bit. It's not, I don't know, it's not a big stream. It's more like a, when I say stream, let me give the appropriate impression. It's about 2 or 3 feet across. It is maybe 6 inches depressed into the earth as opposed to the surrounding area around it. And it is fresh water. It's not large by any means, but it is a freshwater stream that's kind of trickling down across the sand here, and then gets rocky.
This guy might have lasted the Mohican on us. Let's track the stream up inland a little ways and see if we can pick up his trail on either side of it.
Okay.
Okay, Kimosabi.
All right. So I'm going to change this as you start to go more inland. I need to get rid of these seagulls. I mean, they're still there. They're always there in the background.
Always.
Always. Freaking seagulls.
Yeah.
They'll steal your elven bread.
Mine. Yes. Mine. Oh. New bird life.
Well, you get into different areas as you travel up
Yeah.
the stream. It doesn't get any wider. It stays about this much as you go through. Did you want to? So it's very easy to, because of the size of it, to just look on either side as you want to go up. You want to make another check to see if you can pick up any tracks up here, if that's indeed what happened.
A 19, because I'm still rolling with advantage, right?
Yes, you're still rolling with advantage.
Yeah, 19 then.
Okay. So, yeah, you can actually, well, let me double check this. I'm rolling my Pizza Dungeon dice. You can buy from me for miniatures. So you do actually see some prints kind of step out of the stream on as though it didn't cross back the way on the side that you were coming from originally. This is not, by the way, the side of the island. So your group went basically to the center of the island. This is stayed very shallow. You're within maybe 1,000 meters from the shoreline. Can you pick this up? It goes off. It meanders through some trees. I assume you're going to follow it. It comes around to a boulder, and on this boulder is definitely something that's been carved into the stone. In fact,
is it an elvish?
Make a yeah, we'll say a history check. That doesn't seem right. Just make an intelligence check.
Well, I'm kind of challenged there. 14.
14. Okay.
That's a -1 too.
That's not bad. So yeah, as you're looking at it, it doesn't seem not in the same style as the elven runes that you all came across, which you kind of established as the main primary established ancient runes on this island. It was definitely some sort of elven trial ground. And this does not fit that pattern quite as much. But it's still old runes of some sort. And I think the thing that I think Kay would pick up, I don't think anyone else has a passive above 18. Does anybody have a passive perception above 18? Okay. Kay, what you would pick up is on the ground underneath, as you see, Abran follows the tracks, sees the runes. You see on the ground a broken piece of charcoal, as though it's the same kind of charcoal you would use for a rubbing. You're 100% sure on that. It's just laying on the ground there.
I'll point at it and say, looks like somebody did a rubbing of this.
Is there charcoal dust around the base where that would, you do a rubbing, it's gonna.
Now that Kay's pointed it out, there is a little bit. Just you can see it sprinkled on some of the moss that's growing underneath it, some of the leaves of the plants and things, just over the top.
Very interesting. Perhaps
Maybe
we should make our
do a
own
rubbing.
Haha! 2 people thought at the same time.
The navigator hasn't been out of our sight, right?
No,
we know
not
where
for
he's
a
been the whole
moment.
time
He's
we've
been
been
with
here.
you the whole time, and was entirely the whole time using charcoal on paper, even while you were fighting.
Okay.
Now,
I just wanted to be sure that he didn't sneak off and do this.
No, definitely not.
Is this charcoal that has been made specifically for record keeping, or is it just a piece out of a fire?
Oh, make an investigation check.
Alrighty. 16.
It looks
Pressed
like
charcoal or natural charcoal?
It looked like it was just charcoal pulled from a fire. It's not something you would have seen sold for art or for writing. It's definitely a little more. I mean, it's just. It looks like a burnt piece of timber. So the wood looks cut, processed, not a like a branch that's been put on a fire charcoal, but something that has been done to a piece of wood that's been through a lumber mill.
Huh. And we haven't seen any other wood structures on this whole island, right?
Not at all. Nope. Are you raising your hand, Michael? No, you're eating peanuts. Okay.
Now, does Abran, do you recognize this curlicue gibberish at all?
I don't believe I do. I believe it's some maybe similar to Elvish, but I can't comprehend it.
Because I don't have any of your character sheets up in front of me, do any of you speak Celestial?
No.
That's funny.
I speak Sylvan.
I speak Sylvan and Gnomish.
Oh, Jason.
So that'd be a no, right?
You found it funny. Does Corncob have?
No, I barely can speak anything.
Gosh.
It seems related to Elven occasionally in the script, Abram, but for the most part, it is. You don't understand it. It's definitely not Elven or Sylvan or.
Is there any place to stick my sword?
Well, if you look hard enough, there's always a place to stick your sword. But there doesn't seem to be any super obvious places. No.
Okay.
Maybe we're supposed to rub the elf on this stone.
Let's try the gnome. Let's do the gnome first.
Let's just make a rubbing.
I imagine someone amongst you has some charcoal or and paper for rubbing.
Well, someone was writing notes not too long ago.
I would imagine Kay does.
Oh yeah, I do. I have been writing notes, but that's in the magic journal. I don't think I want to rip a page out of that.
We could heat it up. we could heat it up and press the elf
Oh, no.
against it, and then he
Why is
wouldn't
the
have
elf
that
getting
scar
picked?
on his back the whole time.
You
Where'd
know,
we go?
We can use a fireball
we
on
we,
it.
Right.
we don't we
gotta
Be
don't
like
extra
actually
Waterworld.
wait, we don't need paper. A significantly large enough piece of fabric stretched tight enough will work just as well. And we have a brand new cloak.
No, we don't. No, we don't. My blue cloak is
Beautiful.
not like that. My beautiful blue cloak is not
I'm
going
How
just
to
gonna
be
complex
copy
is
them
the
into this.
design?
Okay.
How complex is the design?
Oh, it's not real complex. It's something that you could pick up in
If
something
there's a flat
fairly-
rock, I'm going to take my mason's tools and just scratch a copy of it if I can.
Okay. Yeah, you can probably do that. Yeah, it's good enough that you can do that.
So I'll
Hmm.
attempt to do that.
Okay.
You guys can rub whatever you're going to rub or whatever.
Yeah, it's not. So you see Corncob's work. It appropriately seems to mimic all the shape that you would need. It's a little rough on some of the corners. It's not perfect, but it doesn't seem to miss anything. Someone who should read this language, you would assume they could read what Corncob has out there.
While he's doing that, I'm going to go all the way around the rock, examining the base to see if there's anything else unusual about it, any openings,
Sword
anything like
holes.
that. Sword holes.
And no sword holes. No openings.
Giant beetle dung.
You realize as you go around that it is buried. It's more like a pillar. And the back side of it, as you approach it, you realize it's probably not the backside. I think you are on the backside. As you're able to brush away some things, you almost see features carved into it. They are face-like, but you would not associate them with normal faces that you see. There are definitely two eyes, a mouth, nose holes of some sort that are not quite in normal positioning or normal
Don't
shapes.
stick your sword in it, Abran.
Yeah, sounds like a slidestone to me.
Is there likely to be more writing on the part that's buried?
So if you dig around it to disturb it, even if you go a few feet down, there's no extra writing on it. Just that one bit of writing on the back and a face carved into the front. Or
What happens if you stick your slidestone up to it, Fathom?
Yeah. Put your slide on it.
All right, I'll wave my slide
Stuff it
stone
in one of the
here.
nose holes.
These are
Maybe we need
more
two.
reptilian-like vertical nares, perhaps, if you were bird-related for breathing, it seems like. But seem, other than that, about the right place. They wouldn't hold a sword. And they seem not to react at all to that controlling crystal or orb.
Not shocked by that.
All right. While they're doing that,
How much does it look like gooseneck?
Yeah, Gooseneck should go lick it.
No, how much does it look like him?
It doesn't look like
the
gooseneck at
nares?
all. Yeah,
Okay.
not really.
You said reptilian, so
I'm
There's
much
no
more
snout.
handsome,
There's
thank
no
you very
snout.
much.
Blues told me it might be a clue.
Reptilian if it wasn't a snout.
Oh, if it
while
wasn't a snout.
while they're doing that, I want to put my back to the face and walk a little ways in the direction the face is facing.
Okay.
And see if I can pick up a path or a trail or something that would have led to this place.
Okay. Make a nature check.
Oh, goody. I am a nature boy. 18.
Yeah, you're able to orient yourself, do a nice little bit of direction, and you walk in it. You feel like you've got a pretty straight area. So you've done, I don't know, the best you can at keeping it straight. how far would you like to walk like that?
How's the vegetation? I don't want to get out of sight of the group.
It doesn't. It's interestingly not too thick. So it is. It's not like you're going to have to chop stuff down to get out of the way. There is some thick foliage, but you could, at all times as you look back, you could go quite a ways, probably a good 25, 50 meters before you actually lose sight of them moving around the stone and doing what they do through it.
All right, I'll go as far as I can without losing sight of the group.
How wide a swath would the rays emanating from the eyes have cut?
Or the flame from the nostril?
If you're looking at the path that the eyes would go, it's not very wide. So Pugil is right in that. He's just right.
That's what I figured.
Right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we had a trigger,
I'm under it. I'm under it. It'll go over my head. I'm not elf height.
No, that's a good point. He's shorter than the average elf. So if you go that far in, then make a perception check. Or survival, whichever one you would prefer in this case.
Where is my... Oh, definitely survival.
Okay.
Oh, crap. Never mind. 6.
Okay. Well, as you move through, it's pretty much untouched. You can kind of get the feeling that Thorol probably didn't come this way. It's thick. You have to move stuff. It looks unbroken. Yeah, it's a little bit crowded and nothing seems to be out here.
Okay, I'll just go back.
Okay.
So he probably just came to take a rubbing and left.
It seems that way. So you got your you've got your stonework scrawling that you've done, Corncob.
Yep.
It seems to be pretty well. And then if anybody wanted to take a rubbing, they could have done so with a piece of cloth.
If I've got spare, a spare T-shirt in my pouch, I'll take a rubbing just to be on the safe side, and suggest to Abran that he do a 360 around this to see if he can see any other trails coming and going other than ours and Thorol's.
Yeah, Pugil, you've got some small clothes, as they say, that you could use, probably.
Very small.
The smallest of smalls.
The smallest.
Abran, did you want to heed Pugil's advice and take a 360 of the place?
Abran would be happy to cooperate.
Okay, survival check. Abran, as you look around.
That is magic.
Oh my gosh. Abran's had a stroke. What in the world?
Got a cloak of attitude adjustment.
Abran got a 21.
Wow, that's very good. So Abran, as you take sort of a walk around, you definitely don't see any other tracks that are disturbed or any other elements. It looks like someone came here, and in fact, you now pick up just off to the side a path back. It looks like that this person, well, we'll say it's Thorol because you tracked him, went up the creek. This is probably Thorol. You know this is a pretty good roll. You feel like it's the same prince that started at the camp. It's not this exact same ground type, so it's a little hard to tell, but it looks like about the same weight and about the same person. And you see that they pulled out of the water, moved over here, and then you see a course that is more direct through the undergrowth and back towards the ship where they were making repairs.
How did they know to look for this, though?
That's the question.
Like, this doesn't seem like a spot you just wander onto, does it? Especially if you're supposedly looking for shells.
I will say only Abran, that was a pretty good roll, and you had good rolls coming up while you were tracking. So occasionally there are stops. You can clearly see where shells were pulled out of the water, but while it does look like someone stopped and picked up shells and did a couple things, never once do the tracks sort of meander as though they're observing the environment or nature around them. They seem as though they go right to the water creek, right up it, right off of it. They take one or two
Shells
steps out
are
to pick up a conch or a clamshell or a sand dollar, but they don't
We need to
do
put
anything else.
Thorol to the question in front of the captain. What is this mark? Why
How-
did you
how-
go
That's
over
right.
there?
How far
Be
away are
quick
we
about it,
from
or we'll
the?
stab you.
How
Eat
far
up a
away is
poker.
How far away is the stone from the creek?
Again, not far, like 100 meters or so.
All right. I want to go back down to the creek and see if there's an obvious landmark that would indicate turn here.
Make a perception check or survival.
Oh, let's try the survival again because my perception is just not very perceptive.
Okay. Yeah, so you look around and everything seems normal, but then you start to.
Oh,
Or is your
gosh.
survival?
Oh, man. Well, I rolled a 3 on the last one. Now I rolled a 2.
Okay, well, but it's
I'm-
+3, so you know.
Yeah, 5 total.
Not
So
that
I'm
bad.
like, oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm not feeling very survivally.
Yeah, there's nothing obvious down here. For some reason, it
Mm.
just you have no idea why someone would have chose this exact point to turn off. It's almost like they must have known something was here.
Or counted paces or something.
Yeah, something. Maybe there's a map and they were counting steps. Yeah.
There's not a big X scratched in the sand anywhere, is there?
Or an arrow.
There is not an X or an arrow or anything like that.
Maybe a new set of dice.
Also, for anybody looking magically at things, there are no indications that something is magic.
Well, that's nice to know. We can put that in our pocket.
Yeah.
I think we should go back to the ship.
Yep.
Ask the captain. Tell the
Okay.
captain what we found.
I do want to copy the runes into the magic book before we go. I'm going to want
Okay.
to send them off to our patron anyway, so I may as well do it from the original source.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does
Alright.
our knowledge of the falls suggest they'd be interested in ancient historical doodads?
Yes. So your knowledge is so far has been. They've definitely been embroiled in. Make a history check. Fathom.
20. Not natural.
Okay. So yeah, so the things that you knew and things you have followed up with since and talked to people about from your memory, there is the fall was not necessarily a secret. It became an organization like 3-4 millennia ago, as near as you can tell. So it dates back long enough that old things are very enticing to the organization. Anything that falls within that band of time that is, from present to 3,000 or 4,000 years ago, is always of concern until it isn't, until it can be, brushed off as no, this is purely elven dribble or dwarven or some sort of nonsense that's not directly related to groups that were more prevalent at the time, active.
So that increases the suspiciousness that this could be the agent.
It could. In all fairness, the trial thing was probably only 2,000 or 3,000 years old. Well, maybe half the age, perhaps. As you look at this, the ages are definitely different. It's quite a bit different. but they're both very old. As far as you're all concerned, these things are all ancient and of interest to both parties.
Maybe we could show these two. We could show this stuff to the other little gnome that we brought with. Maybe he might know something about him.
Oh, the
one on the
cartographer?
ship. I
Navigator.
forget his
Yeah,
name.
the navigator, Morgoth. Okay.
Navigator. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it sounds like you're done here. Just make a quick check, Kay. I don't know if you have any. I don't know. Is there any particular skill you think you'd be best at using to copy this as precisely as you can into the book? I think you'd be fine, but just in case it matters.
That is a good question.
Sleight of hand.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Okay.
good with sleight of
Perception.
hand. I'm not terrible at Arcana, but not awesome.
Yeah, sleight of hand will work for this. Definitely an agility involved.
All right. With sleight of hand roll, I got a 17.
Okay, so you feel like you've got you're pretty confident in your replication of what this is into the book. All right. Now back to the ship. It's easy to get to, either directly or back exactly the way you came. You get there. Everybody's, it actually, rather than a half day, it took you 2.5 hours, maybe at most. It wasn't that much of an
You're welcome.
offset for you.
You're welcome.
But alas, we have not come back with fresh pig.
No.
Oh, we didn't search for a pig, did we?
Well, you didn't
Roll
find
back.
any tracks either. So,
Oh.
Yeah.
did you find something curious? Is there something I should be worried about, or do you think Thorol was just out sightseeing?
I haven't the
There's
slightest
a rock.
idea.
Okay. Well, we'll put out
Well,
to sea.
There was a rock with stuff on it.
Yeah. Should we share the writings that we found with her, or
Yeah.
Just a
I think
rock
we
with some
should.
carving on it. That's it, but nothing notable.
With Sleestastaka stuff on it.
Well, I would say it was notable that he seemed to know to go right there.
There was a symbol none of us
Yeah.
could decipher.
Interesting. But you
Let's
don't
show
think
it
it's
to him.
of an immediate danger to us?
Oh, I think
necessarily?
everything's an immediate danger to us.
Hello? Have you been on
Deep
the
There's
into
ship
been enough
for the
mysteries,
hints
last
we
few
dropped.
don't.
We're
months?
just not picking up the thread.
Have we been on the same ship together?
Just go put on your Snickers cloak.
Okay.
Who?
No, I don't recognize this. It's there were runes with this on it, you say? There.
Mm.
And Thorol visited this place?
We've
Yeah.
got 3 copies of this rune now. We could show him any one of the 3. Or her.
We should also show the navigator. Maybe he knows what this rune is. He's seen it
Mm.
before.
She doesn't seem to have recognized it. Just it looks like a rune to her. Interesting. I
We
didn't
think
think you would
they
think that.
might have paid attention to this when they went on their shell hunting expedition.
Mm.
We'll have to watch Thorol more closely, perhaps.
I say keel haul him.
Mm.
We tend not to keel haul people on the Silver Swan, and I take pride in us actually doing a little bit of cleaning while we had her careened over yesterday.
Well, then it's a smooth keel haul. There's no barnacles. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
Have you ever happened
Maybe a
to
few
notice if
splinters.
he's got
Big
any
deal.
tattoos?
Well, a few of us do. I think Thorol does have some tattoos. I think I saw a hibiscus somewhere, and
On his wrist?
no, nothing on his wrist. On his back, as I recall.
Ah, you've seen him with his shirt off then.
Ah,
Well, most of the crew has run at some point with simple wraps or shirtless entirely. It's been
No, we're
hot
getting
a
you.
few times.
We get you. Okay, I
Tramp stamp.
understand. We're seeing the picture now.
Would you feel comfortable letting us look through his possessions?
He's still here. It's not like he's gone.
Make a persuasion check, Fathom, as you ask that.
We can always send Kay. She's a
we would
cunning
try to protect
thief.
his privacy as much as possible, but just to see if he's collecting any other
Let's just
suspicious
quiz him.
material.
Put him to the
16.
question, I say.
Yeah.
Did you say 16?
Yes, 1-6.
Okay. She says, "Oh well. I like to imbue a little bit of trust in the crew. If we had chatted with him and both he and I were present for that, I think that would be just fine."
It's a little
I
less
think we need a little more
surreptitious than I was
evidence.
going for,
Oh, what was that, Fathom?
Oh, I was just saying that's a little less surreptitious than I was going for, but sure, if we just want to play it straight, I guess.
This is very suspicious behavior. How would he know that there's a rock there?
Well, he
He went-
shouldn't
he-
know, but
He shouldn't know. Something stinks.
Yeah,
You
he's
might
got
have
a
to kill all
destination,
of 'em.
so we know he wanted to go there. So
Yeah. And the fact that we went to this island at all, would a crewman of his skill, knowing that this island was the closest place to us, be inclined to sabotage the ship in order to get the ship to go here? Would he have the navigational skill to know that the island was that close?
I don't know that I've seen him navigate. He's had many of our crew has had some interest in navigation, and perhaps to a certain extent, everybody would like to captain their own ship someday. But I don't think.
well,
he's
this
that
person
skilled.
also had a piece of hewn wood, which we did not see any other examples of hewn wood on the island. So we don't know if he took that from the ship's stores or if part of our ship is missing now.
Well, again, it's a matter of trust. So I will be happy to take it on your recommendation, but I'd rather that we go through his stuff with him present.
Me too.
Okay.
Well, perhaps we should just keep an eye on him for in the meantime, and then not out loud. We can always
See if
send
we
Kay
can-
to sneak in there after dark. We have a
See if
rogue
we can
for a
gather
reason.
more information.
I will leave the recommendations up to you, though I will definitely evaluate them all. I'm okay with just observing them, if you wish. You are the security, essentially, for this ship, so...
Is there anyone he's friendly with? I mean, it's from the sound of it, he's not big on mixing with others. But is there anyone at all you've seen?
He's not unfriendly, but he certainly doesn't. He's not close friends with any of us, but friendly for sure.
I say we tie him up and poke him till the slide comes out.
And if it doesn't, then he's innocent.
That's right.
That's right.
At least of that.
Has Kay had an opportunity to take a look at him yet?
Kay has had the opportunity if she wished to use it. Yeah.
I mean, earlier, before we got to the island, I had done a look over of pretty much everyone on the crew.
That's true.
I don't think there was anyone who stood out particularly.
No, there were some magic gloves on the first mate, as I recall, was the only real standout thing in any of that.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, the captain was not there at the time during the whole crew thing. Or well, if
What
she
if
was, or if you look later, you saw a couple other magic items on her, but that's it.
What if we
nothing here.
tattooed Pujol with a lotus on his back? We engineered a circumstance where he would feel like he's friends because they're both bonded by this lotus tattoo.
Hibiscus.
Hibiscus, sorry. Oh, never mind. It's hibiscus. I don't want any part of it.
I was kind of saying, oof, that's rough. This possible criminal got a hibiscus tattoo, so I want one too. Is not how you enter the tattoo parlor.
No, Pujol would already have one. See that? So it's, hey, nice tattoo. Another guy, yeah, nice tattoo for you too. See, open up a dialogue. Let's just go look at his stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the downside of confronting him and questioning him?
None.
We have some fairly suspicious behavior already.
Especially if we do it at
turns
sword
into a
point.
slad.
So what?
Well, I can try dropping the slod stone first if you want to
Yeah,
do
go
that.
ahead. Roll it in front of him.
Put him to the question.
See if
What
his
this
ears perk
is-
up.
Do you
What
do you
this-
catch him at like dinner or near his chamber or his bunk to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We all
Go
surround
to
him
his
with
bunk.
weapons drawn.
Roll the stone across the floor.
Yeah, and do
No.
all 6 of you surround him during this?
Sure.
Abrant's
we're
got
trying
We'll
to-
pretend
fireballs
like we're
in
playing
necklaces.
soccer with the slad stone, and it'll
Wait,
get out of
before we-
control. Right? So there's 3 on each side.
Wait. Before we do anything else, let's let the ship get underway and go take a long rest.
Okay, good point. Excellent point.
I'm
The
not sure
ship
we should
is-
let it get underway.
The ship is going to go underway unless you stop it. Your discussions with the captain so far. have
That's
not,
the question. Do we want to? Do we
like
want
this
to get
argument
it
we
underway
had
before we figure out this puzzle, or do we want to figure out the puzzle?
it
Well, I'm
doesn't seem-
assuming if he's
then just
an
sink.
agent for the things, then he's been collecting stuff this whole time. So there's nothing that special about that.
He got what he needed
Well-
to turn into another monster, so we should just fight
Yeah,
him in
let's
the
do it.
open ocean.
Exactly. What's wasting time? Let's get on the ocean and roll for initiative.
Yeah, it's always better to fight on board a ship. That's
It's good
Well,
for you.
if we confront him,
at least there's
And
no
we're on
running
the
away. I mean, at least there's that.
Huh.
And it's easy to ditch the bodies.
if we confront him and we're on a
That's
ship,
not cheating.
okay.
it's not like we're in a city or something where he can run off. If we confront him and we're on the island, he's still on a place where he can't exactly run and hide. So either he
True.
has a way to get out of that kind of situation that'll work no matter where we are when we confront him, or he doesn't, and being on the ship versus being on the island is going to have minimal difference.
I wonder if he activates that power word if all of our runes go up in smoke.
It's a good
Mm.
question. So
Let's-
confront him when you get out to
yeah.
We
Well,
don't
I
try
don't know
to
about the
rest of you,
surreptitiously
but
look through
my
his
hit
stuff
points,
first.
I'm down 50 hit points.
Right,
so
right.
I'm hurting.
you are obviously
long
first
rest.
going to rest.
Long rest.
So I need to rest. I don't know about the rest of you, but
Guys are just screwing around. Let's long rest.
We can
it
turn him
and-
into
No.
a slad, but I can only shoot toothpicks at him. I need a rest.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay.
Why
I mean,
don't
I can
you
just
turn
sit
him
down
into
for an
with your
hour.
polymorph spell?
I
He needs a
can't
rest for
polymorph
that.
anything. I need
Then
a
we'll
rest.
be justified in throwing him overboard and killing him.
You
You see, look, he turned into a slad.
you all go to rest, and you get a long rest, and that is right in the middle of our game tonight. We are right before
Yay.
you're confronting him. You're getting your long rest at night. So, as odd as that seems, I love that you're following
Right.
this, but no rolling of initiative yet. If that happens, we're gonna do it after we come back from a break, so we can get up,
If that
stretch,
happens.
refill our glasses. I'm a horrible telegrapher. refill our cups, go to the restrooms, things we need to do, and we'll be back in 10 or 15 minutes. Everyone out there, continue on. We'll find out how this this peaceful confrontation goes when we get back.
Bye, everybody.
Hello and
Ooh.
welcome back to
Nice.
Reaper Errant. We are below deck at this point. Everybody has had their long rest, so you've leveled up to 8th level, you've got your health back, you've got your new spells for the day, and you decided to confront Thorol. You have Captain Mal back there in the back. Thorol happens to be bunked right next to Cook, so Cook is here too at the same time when you decide to go back there. I know, level 8. It's amazing. It's awesome. And you all sort of just kind of come in. This is an open sleeping area, but no one else is necessarily relevant. But Cook is wrestling around at the same time Thorol is in also trying to get some rest. Go to deck. Mal says, Thorol, I need to ask you some questions about your away time. And we're going to leave it to our new hires here to help us out and finding out where you were when you weren't doing your job, getting barnacles off the ship and patching it up. And she steps back and she leaves it to the rest of you.
What's Thorol's attitude?
Make an insight check. See what Thorol's. I'm rolling my pizza dungeon dice from Reaper Miniatures.
Insight. 20.
20, that's a good insight. Yes, I have the containers too. Look, they stack.
Well, I'm even wiser than I was last time, so.
You are. All right, so you see that he seems a little caught off guard. That doesn't seem unusual. It really honestly seems like he's displaying all the signs that you would expect from somebody who was just sort of asked into their boss's room for a conversation right after getting out of bed. So they're definitely.
But he's not overly. He's not overly nervous. No flop sweat. No nothing like that.
No, I mean he's clearly nervous though, but not. It doesn't seem overly nervous. He seems appropriately
we haven't asked
nervous.
him anything yet.
Right, you haven't, but he already seems nervous.
Our lizard man can smell fear. I heard.
Smells like chicken.
You smell some chicken.
Well, there we go.
But unfortunately,
everything smells like chicken.
Unfortunately, behind you, in the scene here, a couple of random chickens do come clucking up across the deck.
Great. Now he's going to be super distracted.
Or maybe he'll just be more comfort. Like maybe they're his support chickens.
We are near Cook's bunk, who keeps the chickens close at hand. Remember, he's promised fresh eggs for a while, and then once they stop delivering, fresh chicken. So, yeah.
Gooseneck's hungry.
Don't put in the omelets.
Thorol seems... I'm sorry. I know that I step off for sometimes when I get on shore. It seems odd for a sailor for the sea not to be their favorite place, but I do enjoy the land.
Did you see a carved rock outcrop?
Do you recognize this symbol?
Column?
How about this symbol?
When you were on shore looking for your shells?
What was your insight? We're going to run with that.
20.
20. So he hesitates clearly for a moment. He says, I saw, yeah, I did. Just inside on the land a little bit, I saw some sort of scrawling, some ancient device. Just
did you notice anything unusual about it?
It was, I didn't understand it. It looked very old, but nothing unusual, no.
Did you take a rubbing of it?
I've seen it done, and I did think I was being I thought I was going to do the right thing, and I attempted to do such a thing. I don't know if I did a good job.
Huh. What did you do with the rubbing after you took it?
Oh, it was not very good.
What did you do with the rubbing after you took it? I didn't ask you about the quality. I scratched it into a rock.
Oh, okay. Make a persuasion check or an intimidation check, Corncob. I'm not sure which way you're going. I think maybe intimidation.
Okay, hang on a second. Intimidation. Let's try that.
Okay.
18.
Wow. Says I have it. I have it. I just folded it up. Here, let me get it for you. And he goes over to his footlocker, opens it up.
Move slow.
Ooh.
And he reaches in. He
Take your
pulls out
time.
a piece of it looks like parchment. Not the greatest piece of material, but it does look like paper, which immediately would strike most of you as a little bit odd. He's got a nice piece of parchment in here.
Pretty expensive,
Yeah,
right?
some
Parchment
good
is
looking
not,
paper you got there, bub.
it's not something, you would equate with a normal deckhand or person. Says this was it. Yeah. Here, you can see I didn't do a great job, but it was interesting, so I did that. It's not
Does it
as,
look like he took a lot of care in making this rubbing, or did it look like he just kind of did it in passing?
make an advantage investigation. You've actually seen the original, so you would know.
I'm curious to know why you were looking for shells next to a freshwater.
My highest was a 12.
12. It does look like he took a little bit of care. You can't tell how much necessarily, but it seems like there was care given to it. And Fathom, you're curious. You ask if you're curious why you'd be looking for shells. Well, I was looking for shells, and I found some great ones. You can see here, he's got some like up on a little shelf kind of thing. And then he goes, but I was thirsty, and so I followed the stream up to get some water. I never like to get it right by the edge, so I went up a little bit.
Huh.
And then I saw this
Well,
rock.
that explains the footprints that didn't need explaining, but okay.
Well, I mean, I
He's
was
a little quick to jump
No.
into that.
You can't see the rock from the stream. Try again.
well, I must have thought I saw something interesting over there. I went that direction. Something caught my eye. I
He's a witch.
think it was a rock.
It's an interesting island. That seems reasonable. Now,
Where'd you get the
Frank,
paper from?
What was that, Kay?
Where did you get the paper from?
Oh,
Do you usually carry it with you when you go looking for shells? Paper and charcoal?
Okay, your perception, multiple things. One, you catch this interesting change in position behind you from the captain. It's almost shifted from a neutral expression to a less favorable to the crewman's expression or body posture. And so Thorol says, well, I don't always carry paper or parchment, but I just happened to this time. I've been
Did you get
Where'd you get the charcoal?
I've been thinking about taking up art or drawing, and I thought I might see something. I didn't, but I thought I might.
Where did you get the charcoal to make the rubbing?
In Vin. I got the parchment and the charcoal in Vin. There was a salesman that every great adventurer who
Do you have any left?
What was that?
Do you have any that left? I'd like to see it. I was in Vin, but I didn't manage to pick up any charcoal.
I have another stick. I do. I do have another stick. I got 2 sticks, and I do have another, and some more parchment. He said it was a good deal. I got 5 parchment and 2 sticks of charcoal for art, to draw. But here, and he reaches down, he pulls up a little bit of more parchment and another stick of that charcoal.
Is he wearing any jewelry at all?
He doesn't seem to be wearing jewelry. No, that's not true. Hold on. He has. Sorry, let me check. No, he doesn't have any jewelry on him.
Have you Googled or goggled this guy, Kay?
Actually, I'd like to message Kay to see if she can kind of get a look inside that box before we.
Yeah, I have no way to do it. Good idea.
Okay, sure.
Okay,
I will.
so Kay, two things or three things, I guess. One, initially when you did the crew, you definitely glanced over Thoril, and there was nothing magical on his person. There's nothing magical on his person now. When you look into the box, you don't see anything magical on his person.
But does she see, like, what are the items that she sees?
I'm sorry, you don't see anything magical in the box either. Sorry. Yeah. He says, I know that my job is to, to make sure the ship is in tip-top shape, and I know I took a walk and I relieved myself from those duties, and I apologize for that. But I was just out on a
that's between you and the captain.
Yes, of course it is. But you seem to be. I mean, I just want
to. What were you doing when the ship sprung a leak?
When the ship sprung a leak? Well, I was the second person to find it, and then I ran over to Rami and let them know. I started grabbing some buckets, and we started the line. I didn't personally report it, but yeah, when it sprung a leak, I helped clear the hold quickly of water, as quick as we could, until of course you Corncob handled it.
You know that was sabotage, right?
I did hear that. It didn't, and I trust that you, of course, are right. It did, from our point of view, I guess, just looked like the wood was breaking in. I assume that it was sabotage from the creatures that attacked.
Speaking of those creatures, or the creatures before that, how familiar were you with those two crewmen? Turned into the first set of creatures that we encountered.
That was horrible. They stuck to themselves, but they were fine crewmen. They did.
How long had you crewed together?
Well, I was here before they were. They took up in Iureo is where we took them on. Our next stop, in fact.
What's your home port?
Well, I've been on ships for so long. I don't know if I have a home port, but near Vin, just up the coast from Vin, is where I hail from.
I heard they sell good charcoal in Vin. Is that true?
Well, I don't know, but that's where I got mine.
Mm-hmm. Who are you going to show this drawing to?
Oh, the rubbing. I just thought I'd keep it as a souvenir.
A souvenir of something you found?
Yes. Well, and we visited this island. I hadn't got
Do you
to.
make any other rubbings? Have you got any other rubbings you'd like to show us?
No. Like I said, I was approached by a tinkerer in Venn who convinced me that documenting my journeys on the ship would be a good idea. So
And that's the first thing you documented. It seemed like you walked right toward it when you got on the shore.
Well,
Our elf tracker said you made a beeline right for that rock.
Well, I did see it from the stream, or something caught my eye. He looks at Pugh when he says that. But
we already ascertained that didn't happen.
I definitely, I mean, I picked up, there was a lot of fine shells along the way that I was more interested in initially.
Does he have the shells? Can we see the shells?
Oh, of course. Yes. I mean, I brought those back. They're small. They're not like the rock. That's why I took the rubbing of the rock. And so he goes, here, and he looks very sort of befuddled, fumbling, very nervous. And he kind of pulls into another little...
Go slow.
He goes into the box, and he pulls up a little bin, not like a lidded box, but like just an open topped box. And he says, here, and he pulls out, it looks like a sand dollar or two. These are, like, they were probably alive when he grabbed them. And a small conch, maybe about 4 inches. And
so they're kind of stinky, is what you're saying.
I would like to examine. I would like to examine your. May I examine your rubbing, please?
Of course, of course. And he hands. He passes it over.
Our gnome is kind of a rubbing expert.
He likes to rub.
So
I want to ask if she noticed any other kinds of papers in the box when she was taking a look.
Oh, is that what you messaged to Kay?
Yes.
Okay. Kay, there are not a lot of papers in this box. There are the parchment that he pulled out. There looks to be a paper wrapped. It's a really rough, high fiber, like almost tree bark like paper that you see sometimes, that's wrapped around another little, like a package almost, but other than that, there's nothing paper like in here.
So nothing like the slod guys that had
no,
or instructions he might have received from the fall.
Yeah, nothing like that.
I've kind of taken a shine to that rubbing. What would you take for that rubbing if I were to make you an offer?
He stops and he looks at it. I hadn't thought about that. I didn't know it would have value. I mean, the parchment cost me 5 silver. So I guess that's all. It's not very good, I guess. But yeah, I mean, just the price of the parchment. He looks over at the captain, who's looking kind of sternly at him a little bit. He says, or less. I mean, I've already ruined it. I mean, you can't use the parchment for yourself anymore.
No, I like the rubbing itself. How about 10 silver?
A whole gold coin, yes, of course. It's yours.
Thank you. I'll take it from him.
Make an insight check, Corncob.
You'll take it from me. I've been examining.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Looking at it. But
the gnome's holding on to it now. So insight 14 plus 4, 18.
18. He looks reluctant. He sounds happy. He's putting on an outward happiness. He looks a little bit reluctant to let his parchment go to you. But he's going to do it.
I'm actually going to give this to my friend Pugh because I know he's got a whole collection of rubbings at home.
Yeah, that's what they call them.
Wow.
It's yours to
so
do
generous.
Yes, they're rubbings.
Of course, as you wish.
Well, thank you very much.
Didn't you say the captain's looking at him sternly?
Yeah, it came
This is
about
all-
sometime around, I don't know, when he started talking about picking up the art tools and I don't know. There was some things that just sort of made her shift her stance a little bit to more like, what are you doing on my ship? Kind of less happy, I guess, body language. But she hasn't said anything. She's just been listening to you all.
How's the cook been reacting to all this?
Well, he's been chasing the chickens. He's found a spot on what looks like a pillow he stored on a shelf where he's pulled out an egg from one of the hens who's roosted there, or nested there. And then he's kind of gone through he's not taken his eye off this conversation the whole time. There's at least been some attentive grad, but he's kind of going about some odd behaviors. Not necessarily odd for Cook, though.
Is he?
Did you say
He's
he
not
also
acting
had some
nervous.
pills up on a shelf?
The Cook has some pillows on the shelf, yes.
Is Cook acting any nervously at all?
No, Cook is not acting nervously. In fact, at some point during the conversation, he was down on his hands and knees between you all, kind of scurrying about to get one of the hens.
But ever attentive.
Yeah. He didn't stop listening. I mean, everybody on a ship loves a good chewing out.
Well, we haven't been chewing anybody out. That's up to the captain.
No,
so-
I know. He's waiting for it.
Awesome.
Cook seems to be
You have any
waiting for it.
questions for this fellow, Captain?
I've got a few, but I'm afraid they've all been handled during our first discussion, which is we'll stick to your assigned task next time we have it. Yes? You just nods his head. Yes, Captain. And that's all for now.
All right, I guess it is keel hauling.
Warm up the hot pokers.
So has he
Okay.
generally seemed like he was answering questions around his motivations truthfully to the best of his knowledge?
Kay, make an insight check for this whole general
We
conversation.
tripped him up a couple times, I think.
Definitely. But just as a general answer.
17.
So he seemed to be struggling sometimes to answer, but he was, you feel like at least everything he said has got some bit of truth in it. But with the 17,
whole
it
truth.
seems pretty suspicious. Still,
those are
even
the
his
best lies.
conversation, the way he reacted to it, it doesn't seem normal that he would. It doesn't, not just normal, but he could have his own interests, but it doesn't seem like he's completely telling the truth about why he picked up rubbing tools, why he went right to this rock, why he's willing to sell this immediately. There's a lot of things that don't. It seems a lot like, from your insight, that he's trying to appease you as a group and the captain.
We could
Some
just
fishy's
leave him
going
for
on with the
now,
captain too.
follow him when we get to shore. Surreptitiously, I mean.
Now, and to be really, like, you all realize that there's nothing that he did other than leave the worksite for a little while that would make an honest captain have an issue with him. Like, he didn't, not bringing back monsters or animals or plagues or weird fruits. Or he brought back a rubbing of something and disappeared for a little while. So
Yeah, but
she
he intentionally
she
he
understands it's
intentionally went to that
suspicious.
stone and then he gave it up very easily. So either he's planning on stealing it back,
Yeah, so there's something
or
doesn't
suspicious
think
for
it's
sure, but there's
well,
nothing nefarious from her point of view.
So
Mm.
his behavior could be explained by he's a pretty good liar and he's lying about why he was doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
I'm not a magic person, so I don't really know, but to the best of my knowledge, would his behavior also be explained if they're like if he did come across some kind of vendor in Venn who gave him these art materials and suggested that he started tracking his or making recordings of his trips and suggested magically the location of this thing for him.
Okay. No, I absolutely understand what you're saying. So, what I'm looking for, make another insight check, and this time add your, do it at advantage, because I'm assuming you'll use your goggles. There's like a magical aura you're looking to detect, some sort of command or charm or something. I realize you're looking for a little something.
26.
Okay. There is just a hint somewhere in some of the things he said and just in his eyes occasionally that looked like a side effect maybe of magical conditioning, like a well, so you have these goggles that will show you magic, but make a arcana check to see if you understand very specific types of magic.
19.
Wow, okay. So you've heard of, especially in the churches sometimes, like higher level church members being able to put a quest to an individual that they must fulfill, or forbid them from speaking of things, or make it so they have to take a certain path. And this has got that feel about it magically, as though perhaps there is some magical influence on this crew member's decisions to do this. You can't say for sure that that came from the person who convinced them to take up a rubbing, but it's there somewhere behind.
We might have to open his head up and see if there's a control stone in it.
Yeah, but so it does look like there's some kind of magical influence, maybe by chance, or maybe he's actually a member of something, and they put this quest on him.
Yes.
a suggestion or a hypnosis or
yeah, and you
a
would
geese. Is that what they used to be called?
Something
Geese?
in his
Geas.
food.
Yeah.
Gas. Yeah.
So he might not even be in control of what he's doing.
I feel like he's
Well,
in
whatever it is,
control.
didn't ban him from selling it cheap.
Did not.
Well, you probably have to be real specific with your instructions, and it didn't cover that.
But you would think that they would
So
say
he
bring
is-
it back. The rubbing itself doesn't seem like it would do anything. It would seem like it would have to be delivered to somebody.
I kind of
I
vote
mean-
for pretending we're mollified and following him when he goes into court.
Okay. I like it.
Aye, aye.
Okay. I'm always so So Cook kind of gets the idea that this conversation is dwindling down and is the one to interrupt mostly and go, eggs for breakfast? Especially you. And looks at Gooseneck. I know you like them.
Sounds good.
These hens aren't ready for eating yet, but one of them is only laying 1 egg a day, so maybe you'll get a treat soon.
Over their little bird ears so they can't hear that.
Sounds good. Yes, please. And as we kind of move away, I want to tell the group, couldn't the cook be adding stuff to the food to make them do this stuff?
Could be.
I don't see the cook being a high-level cleric-y type
Yeah,
of person.
especially after your 2 days of Chicken Express, Gooseneck.
I'm just saying.
You just hear as you
I'm
look.
going to tell the captain that none of us were entirely satisfied with his candor.
So she turns and says, well, neither was I. We will keep an eye on him collectively.
I'd keep an eye on him, yeah.
He looks back. As you all look back, you see the cook. Come on, Harriet. Put a chicken up on the pillow one more time. We have hungry members. And then you all make it out of the hold.
So
I think we
once
need to
we're
show
out
the
of
paper to
captain's
the
earshot-
gnome.
Before we do that, the navigator, before we got on the ship, when we were, asked to do this by that mage back in Ben, the navigator was flagged as one of the possible or likely plants by the fall. And gosh, if I were on the ship and I thought that I was under suspicion, I might send somebody else to go look for the thing I was really interested in by going and then, take the new security group off to some complete other part of the island so that, I would have an alibi while somebody else was doing the
Very good.
interesting thing.
Right?
It's also possible
and
there are two of
the next logical interested person in any kind of a drawing of an artifact, I would think, would be the navigator. And we didn't even mention it, nor did Thorvald or whatever his name was. Didn't seem to. I mean, we didn't put the question to him directly, but it seems like that was an omission.
So he doesn't know that we know. Maybe we're on to him.
Yeah. He doesn't know that we know that he doesn't.
He doesn't know that we know.
Yeah.
We know that he doesn't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
What do we know?
Well, we don't. We could change.
Huh?
We could change the rubbing with some extra charcoal and just give it to the gnome and let the gnome file it away.
That's a good idea.
If any of you are good at forgery, you could do that. Someone has that as a skill or ability. Really hard to take a rubbing and start faking.
I don't even have it listed.
But it is an available proficiency, and I'm not sure if anyone took that. It's possible someone did.
No. Sleight of hand, survival, intimidation, deception. I'm good at deception.
Yeah, I don't see it on the list of proficiencies.
It's not a skill. It would be part of a backstory. It would be part of a. It's a proficiency that you would usually pick up via a backstory, but background. Sorry.
Well, I do have a criminal background.
Oh, well.
Criminal contact. I have a criminal contact.
Oh, criminal contact. Okay.
Well, she knows a guy.
You're guilty as sin.
My background is criminal or spy, and I am proficient in deception. So perhaps I.
So there you go. I think we should be able to figure out how to alter this drawing so it doesn't resemble as much what he rubbed.
Okay.
That doesn't seem like too much of a
I'll let
stretch.
Fathom head that up since she's got the criminal background.
Since we have better copies, or we have copies.
Fathom, do you want to roll a check and then add your proficiency modifier to it?
The last 5. So I
Okay.
could smudge it at least and obliterate some information.
Yeah.
Something. All we need to do is alter it.
Are we just planning on using it as bait?
Maybe to
Well,
flush
I'm
him out.
planning on. No, I just think we don't need it, right?
Let's
But
destroy
if
it.
he went to get it, there was a value to it. So if we mess up that value, then hopefully we've neutered that problem.
Then let's burn it.
Well, I'd
let them
rather
try and steal it so that we get information.
I'd rather have the gnome pass it back up the chain if that's really what was going to happen. If it's not, who cares? It's just another piece of paper in his inventory.
Maybe we could give it to the gnome and spy on him.
Well,
Well,
and
we need to ask the gnome what he thinks of it.
If it is a language, it would be like taking a birthday card that says "Happy," adding some tails to the letters. That's
Right.
"Happy Birthday" with some tails to the letters. I mean, I don't understand.
Right. So we show it to
It
the
seems
gnome as if it were the rubbing from the stone and see what the gnome does.
No, I smudged some of it, so you can't read the
Right.
whole
That's
thing.
fine. That's fine.
So
So is he
Bobby's worried
crestfallen
that-
because he recognizes that's not the rubbing he was hoping for? Or does he just look at it and go, yeah, that's nice? I think we need to observe him as he looks at the rubbing, which we've now obliterated part of it. So if it is some kind of later magic or later information that somebody needs, hopefully we've ruined some of its value. Hopefully it's not a key we needed to get Aberrant's
But we still have copies.
cloak off him when it starts to envelop him.
Joking him out.
Should we ask Cook if he's seen Thorval and the Navigator hanging
Yeah,
out at all?
you could ask Cook. He's
Because
gone
Jen's
off.
theory is still very sound.
Yeah, he's starting to cook.
I don't like the captain is starting to bug me a little bit too, but I'm paranoid.
They're all in it together.
Everybody's part of. Yeah, so Cook is he's just making the meals for the day. He's making a very large, a couple of omelets. One is slightly bigger, and you suspect that's for Gooseneck. For some reason, he's treated Gooseneck very well.
Well, the way to a lizard man's heart is through his stomach.
That's right.
Yeah, so he just looks up when you come in. Yeah, what? A special order today, maybe? Perhaps we got some fresh roots while we were on there. I could add some to your omelet today.
Roots.
Yeah, roots sound great.
Excellent.
Especially generic ones.
Well, my goodness, have you not tasted the Northern Shore onion? It's a wonderful, sweet delight, and a root. But maybe you wouldn't call it a root. It's
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
I just eat food.
Fresh
I
is
don't
always
make
good.
it.
Is all.
taste it.
Unless it's catfish, I can make a mean catfish, but I didn't use any onions.
So he makes stuff up. It's special requests then.
Sounds
Sure.
great. Thank you.
Okay. And he starts pulling in some of the stuff that they might have found, just kind of local in there. Look at this. And he starts shaving this bit over it. Coconut, fresh. Very tasty for some people.
In eggs?
Coconut and onion and eggs. That's really, man, that's got me going.
He's so
You got any caramel or
Don't
chili
knock
to
it
put
till
in
you
there
try
too?
it.
while
I'm not
we're-
gonna say he's, well, you get what you get.
Well,
He's
Gooseneck was promised some payback for stealing a chunk of pig last time.
He was.
True. So he puts some stuff over. He shreds some stuff over the top of things and hands it out to everyone. And it's kind of quiet. Most of the crew is going on to do their things. If you wanted to ask him a question, you could.
So you probably saw us talking to your bunkmate.
Pops up. I did. Back under the counter back there.
Do you spend much time with him? You guys are probably on the same schedule then, if you're bunkmates.
Oh, most of the time, yes. We sleep. And we sleep at the same time. Usually, he's he doesn't have much interesting to say. He actually doesn't like a lot of my cooking.
He doesn't. Well,
No, he just
he's
likes
missing.
potatoes and meat. It's awful.
I
How's
hear
that
he doesn't
coconut?
much like the people either. Have you seen him kind of hanging out with anyone? Any friends that he has?
Make a persuasion check, Fathom, as you kind of talk to see what you're going to get out of.
24.
Wow. Oof.
Wow.
Says no, he doesn't. He doesn't seem to hang out with them much. He goes his own way. Doesn't. Very.
You've never seen him talking with is Madagot his name? Morgot.
Oh.
You haven't seen him.
Once they had a dispute about whether or not it was bacon or pork belly. Didn't like that dispute much. It was clearly pork belly.
I'm not going to laugh in his face. I'll hold it in.
So you've seen him with his shirt off.
Mm.
Yeah.
What do you think of
Often.
his tattoo?
Flower.
Is that the only one he's got?
Is it an edible flower?
A flower? No. He's got a compass underneath it.
Compass under the flower. Do you know
Yeah.
how fresh it is? I mean, does it look like a weathered tattoo like it was several years ago, or does it look more fresh like maybe just got it in the last year or so?
Oh, the flower is very old, but the compass looks, I think he added it just a few years ago.
Normal looking compass? North, south, east, west, or something else?
Yes. I don't know much about compasses, but
Don't know
it's got
much.
it's got 8 points actually, and it's not straight up and down. It's tilted a little, but yes,
And it's on
normal.
top of the flower.
No, it's underneath.
that-
It's
It's
underneath.
underneath.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's down lower. Under
I
the
see.
belt
Tramp
line. Yeah.
I just asked him if he didn't saw him without his shirt off. I didn't ask about any other.
Well, now
Yes.
you know. You didn't have to ask. Now
No,
you know.
that's gross. I don't even
No.
want.
No, that
Yeah.
seems very.
So he's got a lower back
Which way is
tattoo.
I think that
Yeah,
needs
which
to go in
way?
the book.
Which way is the compass pointing?
He thinks
It's not.
that.
You said it wasn't straight up and down. So did it?
No, it's off to the. Not. On a map, you'd think top is the top, and something would point to the top, but it points to the
Right.
side. Yeah, just angled a little bit to his. I don't know, to his left.
So
shoulder.
this is north. Is it northeast, northwest? You're a sailing man. I mean, I know you're a cook, but you've been on board a ship for a long
yes,
time.
south, east, west, northwest. It points northwest.
Hmm.
Which
Well-
we've never gone actually. Not really. We mostly sail the southern and southwest seas.
And the tattoo stayed the same every time you've seen it, right? It doesn't tend to move.
Ooh. What you said, just his mind is blown, as though a tattoo would move on a
He's
person.
gonna be staring at this guy.
Well, I'm just checking. You know, this is a fantasy universe, so you never can tell
I
what
mean,
might happen.
It might. You are perfectly aware in this fantasy universe that maybe
I've
that
heard of
kind
stranger
thing
things than that.
could happen, but he seems No, but I've only seen it once. It was at the Wishing Well in Venn. I was going to check into the sulfur makes a very nice ingredient sometimes. You'd be surprised, but yeah, I've only seen it
Take-
once. I don't know if it
Takes his
moved.
shirt
Wishing
off at the
well.
Wishing Well in Venn.
Well, I mean, most people take everything off at the Wishing Well, but yeah, that's where I saw it. There's
Well, it doesn't sound like much of a wishing well now, is it?
Oh, well, it
It's
depends
a
on
well
what
for
you're
doing
wishing
something
for.
else, isn't it? Yeah, we know what it is.
Yeah, well,
We
yeah.
get it.
But there's a lot of trade outside. Yeah, maybe below board trade, as you can say.
Yeah,
There's
that's what
fine
I'm thinking.
ingredients. I've got some saffron from there when we went in there, and there's a lot of tasty things.
So he got
Good
his
Lord.
paper.
I don't know where he got his paper. Could have been. There were lots of people there. One, I think, even had paper. I've actually.
So, like an underground paper vendor
I
is
think
what you're
a few
saying.
had paper.
Some kind of
But-
contraband parchment guy.
Well, you get paper anywhere. It's it's not that hard to get. But cinnamon and saffron. Now that
Man, you can dream up some stuff when you're on a ship. You know that?
that is something.
We have some
No,
saffron.
side question. Do we still have all that saffron we found in Venn,
Yeah,
or
we
did
get
we
the
ditch that somewhere?
I think
We
you were
sold
it.
really. I don't think you wanted to let that go for some reason. I think it's in
No,
your
we
bag
kept
of
it.
holding.
We
we
kept
kept
it.
it.
Yeah, it's in our
We kept
bag
the
of
box
holding.
of
We have
saffron.
saffron in every omelet.
Because we
We should
decided
give
it
him-
was
I'm
worth
saying
more
if
than
we-
its weight in gold or
Let's give him.
diamonds.
Yeah, let's give him a
Yeah.
little saffron.
Yeah,
We
if
should.
we want to make friends with Cook, man, that might do it.
Special ingredients are the secret.
I mean, are you going to give him some saffron? You might
We'll
lose
give
his-
him
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
saffron.
Okay.
Maybe
Trust it more
maybe
than salt in the food.
maybe
We
Cook
just happened
can.
to pick this up along our travels.
Come on.
We're not
Wow.
giving him the whole thing. We're just
Come
giving him
on,
some.
Jackson.
Some of it, right? He says
Every time.
Oh,
Burn off your ringer.
Oh,
Well, he
oh.
must have a little bottle of saffron. We'll just refill it for him.
Okay. Yeah, he had a little bottle a little jar that had just a little bit in it, and if you
Oh,
fill
we're
that
gonna
up,
give him.
We'll
He's-
top it off.
We got a
he's-
whole. We got a whole brick of this stuff, don't
he
we?
is over the moon. Yeah, you
Yeah.
have a lot. You have pounds. Yours is measured
a
in
little-
We don't want
pounds.
people to know we're just basically saffron mules.
His is measured in pounds. His is measured in grams. There's a big difference between your saffron supply and his. And he suddenly is like, you, I've chicken. I will give you a whole chicken tomorrow. Oh, this is wonderful. I had a special recipe. I will do it. Oh, and just let me know if you need an extra bit of rum when you come by. Oh, we spiced it up a little bit. Oh, okay. Oh,
Don't
yes.
put yourself out. I seen the lizard man eat dirt.
Well, wow. Now it'll be saffron flavored dirt. Oh, it'll be wonderful. Okay.
Oh, that's the very best kind. All right.
So, if we collectively scan our knowledge, have any of us any recollection of a compass symbol belonging to a particular group or faction or religion? Or
Everybody make a history check. Or you can choose one or the other. You can't have both. Or a religion check.
Oh, mine are equally as
Religion.
bad.
Yeah, you will make a choice though, and tell me which one it is, because the information I give you will be a little different depending on which role.
I will choose.
Abram
history.
rolls.
I'll take a history check for 13, Alex.
That's what I got too, Alex.
I'll
got
take a
12.
history
Re-
for 16.
Religion for 15.
15 religion, 13, 16. Fathom
12 history.
12 history, and Kay.
History, but a 7, so I know nothing.
Okay, that was not in your world of things. So, so religions. Yeah, probably. I think Kay is probably excluded from some of this from the religious perspective. Those that rolled religious checks. Usually compasses that you've seen in text and documents have either been just of a just a decorative nature, but will often point, I don't know, point to an important element in the story, or maybe some of the photos on the page that have been drawn. You don't feel like they're often used just by themselves someplace, and you think it would be at odds with a tattoo with just a compass on it. From a history point of view, for those who rolled history checks, all you rolled basically the same thing. 16 isn't a whole lot higher than a 13. You, in this case, but it might be high enough. So those who didn't roll up to a 16, you feel like there was something, it just tickles your mind a little bit, that a compass was a part of, like a guiding theory or rule, or you don't really remember. It's pretty vague. If you're trying to find a context of it outside of a map, at least. However, for 15 and higher in the history, there is a small, there is a couple of small stories that are out there, short stories, around some historical errands that were run. And when they were run those errands, they were given, in these stories, in these fables maybe, they were given a map or a compass that always pointed them the direction of where they needed to go. And this was, I mean, it was magic, but it was definitely something that made its way through the history books a little bit as things that had actively participated in the rising and fall of kingdoms and of individuals themselves. There are accounts of compasses being utilized. However, that said, it doesn't necessarily make sense that this would be in a place that the person who's supposed to follow it can't see on their back.
So someone points him somewhere, aligns him with something like the stone, and then looks at the compass from behind and goes off that way. Or something.
Could be.
Or the tattooer
I
was drunk.
definitely think Kay should put this in the book.
Hmm.
Do we ever get messages back?
I believe it was a one-way book.
Oh, it's one.
I think so, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
I definitely think this is something, but I don't know what it is.
I mean, if the tattoo is this kind of thing and it's set up magically somehow, it could just be symbolic. You know, that particular compass does not literally point him the way it goes, but something about the way the magic works, it's you know, whatever effect he's under, part of it.
Yeah, I don't think it points him anywhere, but it points somebody somewhere. So I don't know if he's, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, you're right. It could be the symbol of whatever organization is just slightly northwest, or the moral compass is slightly to the right or something. I don't know.
I mean, even if this is a magic tattoo, we don't know that it moves and points. It could just buzz when he's pointing in the right direction. We don't have
That's
any
right.
idea.
You know it's not magical because Kay has, even though I mean, she would have been able to see through something as thin and flimsy as a shirt, or at least sense the glow. It wouldn't have stopped. At least you don't feel like it would have stopped, Kay, your vision when you looked over the crew.
Huh.
So he maybe just got drunk and got a compass. Hey, that compass flash looks cool.
I agree that with Fathom that would be Probably good to note it down.
All right.
Maybe someone who has more idea what's going on can make something out of it.
Okay, so I'm marking this stuff because I think it's important. So you've talked to Thurl, you found the compass tattoo, and it's suspicious. And you kind of think Morgott is suspicious. So you have two
And
suspicious.
the navigator. The navigator.
Yeah, the navigator Morgott. Yeah,
That's Morgott.
that's Morgott.
Okay.
That's your gnome buddy who seems overly enthusiastic about cartography.
But we're not ruling out the cook or the captain just yet.
Right.
Now,
Yeah,
which
I'm still not ruling out the captain, to be honest with you. I'm not.
I think Cook's a little too befuddled to.
it was the
It's
first
all
mate
just
that
an
had the
act.
magic gloves, though, right?
The first mate has the magic gloves. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the captain could have just been annoyed because her business is exploring and mapping and bringing that information back to people who pay her for it. If one of the crew starts running the same business on the side, I can see how that would be,
Oh,
a little
absolutely.
problematic
No,
for her.
she was very justified in being upset. There's no question about that.
She could also be upset because we found out what he was doing.
Yep.
Yeah, you feel like when you first went down there, it wasn't that she was too upset. She was just trying to play mediator in some way to what you were trying to figure out. But then as the conversation went on, she became a little more upset with Thorol.
Well, obviously the stone was a destination. Obviously the rubbing had a value. Obviously it was given up fairly easily.
It is still possible
Hmm.
that he'll try to steal it back.
It is.
And to that end, where are you keeping this rubbing? Who's keeping it?
Pugh has it.
Hey,
Visual?
do any of you magic types have any kind of like alarm spell?
I do
Trap.
not.
I think so.
Mm-mm.
That's too bad, because if we had one, I'd say put that on it and hang the thing on the wall.
Oh,
Could we rig a trap?
yeah. Visual, how are you gonna hold on to this?
I'm going to keep it on my person.
Okay. All right. I like it.
I guess I'm going to keep eyes on Pugh, make sure nobody runs away with him.
Fair enough. Okay. The ship has now been just out to sea, well, overnight. You slept on it.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Fathom, go ahead.
I know Dispel Magic. If that guy is under a Gaius and I cast that on him, would he know what, like, is that one of those things where he'd know what happened to him after?
So the interesting thing about that particular sort of quest spell is it's usually not surreptitiously cast, and you don't know it's cast. Like he would know that it's cast on him. He just can't divulge that information without
be able to talk
endangering
about
yourself. Yeah.
If
So
the spell was
if you were able to dispel something like that, then he would then be able to talk about it if he wished to talk about it.
well, some of these people can inspire wishes. Some of us.
He was at the wishing well.
Hanging out with us can be very inspirational.
Right. Are you going to attempt to cast this spell?
The wishing well, I don't think was an actual well, though. If people go there and take their clothes off, but
Right.
No, I don't think he got the tattoo at the wishing well.
No, he did not. He did not.
Was exposed
That's where Cook saw it.
Never mind.
Do you guys want me to try to dispel magic on him and see if he'll talk more freely?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay.
I don't think we
Sure,
all
we
should
got
hit him
nothing.
at the same time this time. Maybe just whoever seemed the most friendly, which probably isn't Corncob, should try to get him on
Oh, so you
to the
want to try to
side. A
get him
couple
with
people maybe.
sweetness. Okay.
Well, that would be
Alright.
Pugil, and Pugil's all sweetness and light.
I'm
I'll
kind of
I'll
charming
go down there.
sometimes.
I'll go down there with Fathom and
Okay.
not be abusive.
Well,
Yeah.
Abrand, I don't think asked him a single question. So
No.
Well, we
Abrand.
could
Yeah, but-
also be a little flirtatious in our niceness, since we don't know exactly
well,
what
then you gotta send Abrand. I mean,
two of us.
I mean, you got Pugil and Fathom.
and the guy
Oh.
goes to an underground place called the Wishing Well.
Mm.
Well,
Seems
you
like
guys
an elvish place
We're
to me.
aware of it. You knew when you got to
We're
Vin.
fairly exotic, Pugil and I. He gets
Yeah,
greased
we
up.
can handle it.
He's like,
Yeah, I would.
We don't
I would think so.
we don't need to get
A
creepy.
regular smorgasbord.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
okay.
that was a mental image I did not need.
No.
Oh. Okay. Whew. Yeah. So Fathom and Pugil, you go down to at some point later in the day, perhaps when he's down there or something. You go down to talk to Thoro.
Yes.
Okay.
Should I try to charm person him? You think, or you just want to dispel magic him?
Don't you have a
Oh, that
befriend?
might work.
Mm.
Well, if you charm him and then Fathom dispels magic on him, won't that just uncharm
yeah, I have
him?
to dispel first.
Oh yeah, I
And
guess so.
Then you can just try. We can try charming him with our natural charm, and then if that doesn't work, you can.
Or you can
Okay.
turn him to an animal and then try to animal friendship him.
That would be a technique.
I think that's actually a great idea. It doesn't say anything about the person noticing if you're trying to dispel on them.
No, I mean they wouldn't necessarily know. I mean you could do it while Pugil was talking to him if you
Yeah,
want.
we'll let Pugil start the talking, and I will surreptitiously mojo.
We'll send the good cops down, and
Okay. Okay.
bad cops won't go.
Pugil, make well. I mean you're chatting with him. Performance.
Ooh, rolled a 3.
Ooh,
12.
okay. Wow.
Man,
Rolled a
that's
3
a
and got a
bonus.
12.
Yeah,
Oof.
I hope
I'm
this
a
guy
performer,
doesn't do
baby.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
a performing
I was
nature
gonna say
boy.
that's a +9. You could roll a 1 and still do okay.
That's the right way to perform. Okay,
I'm a
so
performing nature boy.
that's pretty good. That's a pretty good. So Fathom, you think Pugil's while he's chatting is kind of pretty distracted. If you want to cast this sleight of hands or stealth, if you want to try to
I
do it as
will
under
use
the radar
stealth.
as you can. Okay.
Um,
And let me ask, what level are you casting this at?
I will cast this at. Well, it only shows up under 4th level, so I'm casting it at 4th level.
Okay. You were
That's 4th
okay.
level.
You're going to have to make a difficulty check. So D20 plus your spellcasting modifier.
Okay, so for the, I probably wasn't stealthy enough. I rolled 9 on that.
Yeah, that's probably good enough in this case with Pugil's performance.
Terrible performance. Well, no, it wasn't terrible, I guess, after he modified it.
No,
It's terrible by my standards.
he had a really bad opener that he just I don't know. He went and went like I don't know. Nice thong.
Busted a string on the first chord.
Right. But he picked it up really quickly from then.
The dispel magic roll was 25.
25. Oh wow.
No,
Okay.
26. Hold on. It was 18 plus 7, and I'm very bad at math. Now you all know.
Wow, that's an amazing roll. Okay. So yeah,
these St. Patrick's Day ones are working out for me.
yeah, we're one day off of
It's-
St. Patrick's Day.
All I'm
So
rolling is 3s. I need to borrow those.
clearly,
I
but
tried
it's a good
tuning
thing you have a good bonus. So you've distracted him. You've talked to him a little bit. Fathom, you cast detect magic or dispel magic, and mhm. It's not the demeanor hasn't changed. His demeanor hasn't changed. I mean, he may not even know something is different.
So we'll both try to be very charming and flirtatious in conversation, and then say, I didn't follow all of your conversation. What were you saying about why you went on your little trip instead of helping with the ship? Why was that?
Well, I um I I just like to get away from everybody. I know that I've chosen, this is the life I've chosen at sea, and I enjoy it, and it's refreshing, and the breeze and the open sea is it is very freeing. But there's something I enjoy about the land, and so I tend to go off and explore areas when we get there. If that's a town, I explore the town. And in this case, I maybe shouldn't have wandered off, but I was curious about the beach line and the coastline as it went up. And so as you're make insight rolls as you're listening to this, as you're listening to him begin to talk.
Did you feel drawn anywhere in particular? My insight roll is sadly just a 10, but maybe Pujol can do better than that.
Okay.
Nope,
Pujol?
I can't.
Okay. So the way he begins to talk, you don't know why, but changes a little bit. He says, "Well, I did feel drawn to go up that side of the coast, as you might say. It was the northern side, northeastern side, northwestern side, I mean. And when I saw the water, I just felt that it would be refreshing and the right thing to do to edge towards the source of the water. And then when the water began to duck into the foliage and the red rock appeared to the right, I thought it would be interesting to go look at the rock. And that's
How
when
did
I
you
saw.
how did you see the rock from the creek? It's 100 meters away.
Well, the rock with the rubbing is, but it's part of um, a barren patch in the growth where nothing grows except a wild thorn. But I mean, when you get close, you can see that. So I'm sure you saw it too. But I guess I didn't see the rock exactly, but I did see from the creek the area where the growth got barren and the rock would be. So I
Hmm.
investigated it. It was interesting, and then I saw the rubbing, or I saw the marking, and I made a rubbing of it. And I was very lucky, or maybe I had the foresight to bring the paper and the charcoal along with me. I did try to draw a conch at first. It was very bad.
What do you remember about the person who inspired you to take up these artistic pursuits?
Oh, wow. Hmm. It was short. He was hunched a little bit, had some greasy, slicked back, dirty blonde hair. Talked in the third person occasionally. offered
Did
me
you
a
happen to
great
see his
deal.
arms?
No, I couldn't see most of them. He acted out from under this cloak everywhere he did things, but there was a great deal of things in it. He reached in to pull out wonderful things from time to time.
So it really was an underground parchment cellar. Okay.
Well, he had other things.
Yeah,
He
another
caught,
thing.
he caught me with coin in my pocket as I was leaving, so I spent it. There's nothing else I'm going
So
to do
he
with this.
stopped you, or you just had an urge to buy some
Oh,
parchment?
yes, he stopped
charcoal?
me. He called me over. I was exiting the central part of the wishing well, and there's a large ring of the black market sellers around it. You can get weapons and goods and all kinds of things. I saw Cook. I saw Morgott, and I saw well, those the twins. Yeah, they were. They had gone there as well for whatever reasons they have, and I, I don't have a lot of spare money, but I don't spend it. I don't have any children or houses or anything at all. So why not treat myself to a new hobby, which I did not do
Oh,
very
that seems
well.
perfectly reasonable. Had you ever thought
Did
about
anybody else that you saw, any of the other crew? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Did any of the other crew members interact with your parchment seller?
No, no. Oh, that's not true. Morgott did. At least I'm almost positive he bought reams of or sheafs and sheafs of paper. Sorry, it was or parchment, but he's always looking for a deal on parchment and ink everywhere we go. Nothing unusual there, I don't think. But yeah, he interacted as well.
You said that you were the second person to arrive at the breach in the hull.
Yeah.
Is that the case? Who
Yes.
was the first?
Well, I think it was Tanya.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me that story. How did you discover the breach?
Well, so we had. There was a. I was not one among the wounded above deck, and so I just went down to secure goods during the storm as we were. It had begun to smooth out. I think you were doing something with magic that was changing things, and most of the storm had begun to smooth out. So we went below down to check the cargo and the hold to see it was secure, which we always do.
And you were
before a
with
storm.
Tanya?
We went down at the same time, but she was in a different area of the ship we were, and she called me over as soon as she saw it.
Okay. And then which one of you went up to alert the rest of the crew?
Oh, she asked me to, and I ran and did.
Okay.
He watches you. He seems so oddly. He seemed. Let's see, a little. With those insights, you're not going to get a lot, but he seemed a little more relaxed at the end of the conversation than he did at the beginning.
Okay. Well, how do you? I don't know how to surreptitiously talk to you, Fathom. We're standing here in the guy's face, but
Yeah.
There's got to be some way to bring up the subject of his compass tattoo without seeming like I'm flirting with him.
Well, you
Just
are supposed to seem
go
like you're flirting with. We're
Oh,
putting
just
Yeah,
things
go
flirt
for
with him.
it.
It's for a good cause. Come on.
Yeah,
Take
come
one
on.
It's
for
not
the
like you haven't
team.
done worse.
Usual.
Yeah.
I don't want to lead anybody on. He doesn't have a lot of fungus about him anyway, or a goat.
Well,
Okay. I'm going to. I guess what we'll do is we'll say. I know that you've got to be wondering why in the world we care about your wandering in the woods and doing whatever you're doing. But you're also not a stupid person. You're going to realize there's something strange going on in this ship. There's sabotage, there's demonic infestations, and we've got interests. And we think and we hope that you are not being used by the nefarious powers set against us. So, one of the things that has been brought to our attention is you have a mark on your back, a new tattoo, or new to you, and my companion here, Fathom, thinks it might be really cool if she got an eye on it.
I was waiting for wow you were going to
Asking
deliver
for a
that.
friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's compose myself.
Yeah.
Ah.
You could have just said you wanted to get one and asked him where he got it.
This is why we should always be playing.
That's not the way Pugh thinks.
Yeah.
I guess.
No.
Yeah.
Says I do. I do. I had some extra ink added last season. I did. How did you?
Where?
know?
What? In Vin?
No, long before Vin. Ireo, I think, of course, is the best tattooers are there. I think that everybody would go there if they wanted some updated work done, and it was. I guess it was good. It's attracting a little bit of attention. And he just.
You didn't want to get it someplace where you could enjoy it as well?
I have a tattoo from me on my thigh.
Man. Oh,
okay.
Ooh.
He just
Who is
pulls
this
up. So
tattoo for?
he pulls up the shirt and just lowers like his left cheek on the pants a little bit, and you can see the rest of the compass under the rose, under the hibiscus. Sorry.
All right.
And
Well, let's
where
try
is
to
it?
memorize what that looks like.
So it's kind of off to the left side. You can see the hibiscus flower. It kind of takes a lot of detail up to the back, and then it fades off as though there was maybe something else planned, but didn't pan out. And then down below, it looked like this compass was added as part, as like something the hibiscus was coming out of.
And it does point northwest.
It does. Absolutely, yes. It points northwest. Yep.
And it's just like a compass rose on a map. Or anything odd?
Yeah.
Does it have the little letters?
Make a perception check.
I'm not
Should
very
we both be
perceptive, and I
better?
have been rolling threes.
Do you still get your passive? Or no?
8. I rolled an 8, but
Okay.
my passive is 11.
Okay, you get your passive. Fathom, you're there too. Unless you're averting your eyes as soon as he pulls his pants down on the left side, which is reasonable.
Well,
in
I
this
rolled the
case.
same as my passive, which is also 11.
Wow.
I should have sent somebody with some rolling skills.
I love the way it's like, yeah,
K.
nice.
the good
That's a
cops,
very nice
the good
tattoo.
cops are supposed to be the smart ones, right? That's the smartest guys are the good cops.
Yeah, they're the most
That's the way
polite
it works.
in this case. So, no, you can actually, so you do catch, though, both of you catch it. It does point if you were looking at it and thinking of it traditionally, it would definitely point northwest. But it only takes a second glance before you realize that it is completely flipped. It's south. You see the S and the E clearly.
So
But
it's really pointing southeast.
It's really pointing southeast.
Interesting.
Or towards his right butt cheek.
No, it's on his left, pointing off towards his shoulder as you're looking at him. On his left cheek, pointing off his body.
Okay.
So he's from the southern hemisphere, right?
It's definitely from the southern hemisphere. Thank you, Jason.
Oh boy.
Oh. Is his pants still down?
His pants are not down. He's just flashed his cheek a little bit to show the compass.
Oh my God.
He's excited about someone asking about his tattoo.
Yes, that Pugh wants a rubbing. but he forgot his charcoal.
Maybe a little oil.
Well, actually, that's speaking
I'm
of
really
the
into
rubbing.
rubbings.
Were you? It looked like you were a little sad to sell your rubbing. Why was that? Why were you sad to part with it? You broke Michael.
I'm ready to roll for initiative. Let's just kill this guy. And
I know Michael Michael might not get to roll for initiative tonight, and it's killing him.
I just want to kill this guy so we can move on with the story.
He is
the story.
He is.
Whoosh.
Until we eliminate him.
So he says
we need to skin him and hang his skin on that rock. That's the way I've got figured.
Oh my gosh. I didn't want to get rid of it because it was my first, I don't know, attempt maybe, and my first piece of paper, parchment. It's pricey. It was expensive.
First piece of parchment.
But he gave me what it was worth. I guess I'll get over that. I just didn't want to give him.
So you didn't really have any other intentions for it? Trying to watch him pretty closely.
Well, I thought it might be. I think. As we were parting, when I bought the parchment, I do remember the seller saying, they would be interested in seeing my work on the journey, and I was kind of excited that I might show them something that I had created when I got the opportunity, but it's not that important, I guess. I'll do more things, I'm sure.
Yeah, hopefully you'll have something even cooler to show them next time.
Yeah, I think so.
And you expected to meet that person in Ben again, or somewhere else?
We'll go there at the end of this season as well.
Holy cow!
Since
there are several artists in this crowd, let me underline how important it is when a patron just comes up to you out of the blue, convinces you to buy paper, and says, "Go draw something and bring it back. I want to see it."
Oh no, that guy's super fishy.
That happens all the time.
Yeah. So let's now. Does Thoril know the name of the parchment seller?
No.
Okay. Then let's scoot Fathom and go talk to Morgott and find out the parchment seller's name.
Okay.
Okay.
But we can't. Morgott might still be in on it.
Well, then we roll for initiative.
And then
all right, why don't we
happy.
bring everyone to this one? Because we're not flirting with Morgott.
Let's go back to get the rest of the crew.
Okay.
Stop looking at tramp stamps and come upstairs.
I'm gonna put Morgott up here on the top of the ship. Pull you guys up to it. I know that I'm beginning to feel like Oh no, I made you fall. I'm beginning to feel like Abrand's not going to get to pull his blade tonight.
Hmm.
And that's,
No
that
stabby
happens.
stabby for you.
That happens,
That
Abrand.
might be a
okay.
All right.
first.
Abraham got to kill and stab things a lot last time.
Yeah. He's got
And
that
Abraham
shocking
did.
grasp now. Pulling his blade might be a little
Yeah.
dangerous.
Well, and it's nice that we're having a part of this voyage where we aren't having to fight for our lives. I mean, that's refreshing.
Well, for you, maybe.
Look, if you have a battle every single day, there's something wrong with this ship,
Yeah,
right?
we start to suspect stuff.
Yeah, but
I'm
Now we
I'm
gotta
pretty
go
sure
talk
we
to
have
the sailor
already
with
crossed
the
that line.
sailor with the hyacinth tattoo. That's great.
I'm going to move this camera, Justin, so. You all go up, you find Morgott. You find in a relatively, you can talk to him in the open, but privately, as people go around and do their thing.
Have we scanned his quarters at all?
Yes. You have.
So who's
You-
got to talk to him?
Yeah, you
Gnome
get
to
up there.
gnome, or
I mean,
Not
we've
me.
told you guys all what we know.
I keep
the
rolling
greasy hair.
threes. Somebody.
You had a good
what are we going to
relationship
ask
with
him? I don't even.
defending him.
Oh, we're going to ask him about the parchment seller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Parchment
Morgott,
seller.
Yes.
we heard of a parchment seller in Venn.
Oh, there's many.
Thorvald been talking about it.
Oh, well, I mean, there's quite a few. I bought out 3 different parchment sellers. I need a lot for
This
what
guy
I do.
had greasy blonde hair.
Hung around by the wishing well.
Oh, well, yes, I got a great deal down there. That was Bryant.
Bryant. Does he sell ink too? Or charcoal?
Yes, all manner of writing instruments. Charcoal.
Writing. Is he a
inks.
patron of the arts? Do you know?
Oh,
More interested in drawings, or is he more interested in writings?
I'm not really sure. He's just got the mechanisms for all of it. I think he even had some oil paints, if I recall.
Is that where you get most of your supplies for your cartography?
No, not often. But he's very well. I'm not above buying something that maybe is a reduced price because it was questionably gathered. But he often doesn't have much stock, so I buy him out of usually what he has, and then move on somewhere else. And some of the quality of his ink is atrocious, let me say. It's very bad. I wouldn't trust it. It begins to fade very soon. It's not a quality ink in most cases.
You know much about him?
No, not really. He's usually there. Not always. I think I've missed him. Well, I mean, he was there last season, but he wasn't there before that, I think. And then he was there the time before, as I recall. And he still had parchment, horrible ink, and a very nice pin. Yeah, he had a very nice pin.
So he's a wandering.
You know anything about his? You know anything about his
parchment thief.
personal life?
Personal life? Well, it must be rough
Yeah.
if he's making black market deals, but maybe not.
What? Now the black black market people. What temple would those people be affiliated with in Venn?
Well, I would think that they try not to affiliate with one of the temples, but Lael seems to be, able to skirt some of the laws from, well, not skirt the laws. You can't get away with that, but somehow find loopholes that work well. So I think if they were an association, that would be the most obvious.
Are any of his parchment stocks used exclusively by anyone else? Like their special parchment that only a certain crowd should have that he manages to get his hands on?
Make a persuasion check. Corn cob.
13.
13. Not bad. Ooh, that's very insightful. I did notice that the last time I was there, he had some parchment, and I scooped up a piece or two myself. That, well, generally that shape, that texture, the quantity of material in it, well, needless to say, it would have come from one of the religious organizations or a military organization. There's only that buy this supply, but it's not typically given out to the rest of the normal consumers. So I was very excited to get this piece, and it was a kind of a good deal, I thought.
So if one were to want to like counterfeit military orders or religious orders or proclamations, this would be the parchment you would have to have.
His eyes sort of open up. Oh my, I hadn't thought of that. But yes, you would need such parchment to do that sort of thing. This would be the perfect parchment. Oh, it would. It would do exactly that.
Isn't that unusual?
I didn't think of it, but unusual. Perhaps not. Well, you're very astute. I could see why the captains had you on.
The captain know you shop around in black markets?
Oh, many of us do.
As the captain?
I don't know that she does. I've never seen her there at the Wishing Well.
I heard the cook did. The cook goes there.
The cook shops in very questionable places.
Well, most cooks do.
Every port. To be frank, I don't know how we're alive to this point with some of the meals.
Hearing that sulfur was an ingredient was certainly an eye-opener.
Yeah.
That was a brisket,
sulfur and coconut.
He called it. It was okay, I guess.
I don't think coconut omelets are going to
Should the occasion ever arise, we'd love a tour of this market in Venn.
Oh, well, next season when we're back, when we picked you up from Venn, I would have thought that, well, I mean, being adventurers such as yourselves, I would have expected someone to have.
We were very busy in Venn, unfortunately.
Oh, well, you missed out. It's a lovely, lovely place for shopping and whatnot.
We're going to show him the rubbing?
Go ahead.
Shall I?
The rubbing. Yeah.
What do you make of this?
So he goes, oh, exactly. That is the wait there, and he kind of ducks, runs off, and then comes back out. He goes, look, and he pulls out this other. This is the parchment I got. I've been saving it. This is exactly what you'd see on a formal document, either from the town's religious council or from one of the authorizing organizations. I had not seen that.
So it's
before.
A seal, like?
Well,
a seal?
No, but see how the edges here are almost, they're not thinned out. They almost thicken. And then
he's talking about the parchment, not the symbol.
Parchment. Yeah, he's like enjoying every bit of how the parchment is.
Yeah,
created.
why would that guy sell real high quality parchment to?
Fell off a truck.
I mean, it's already suspicious he's offering to pay an artist, clearly.
So
here, kid, take this parchment and go draw something, then bring it back.
Yeah. So where'd you get one of these? This cost me This piece of parchment cost me 5 gold.
5 gold.
And I thought it was a good deal for this particular piece.
Do you know how to get charcoal off parchment? Because I figure I just made a bunch of money.
But he does not react at all to the rubbing.
Yeah, it's almost like he didn't see it. He just saw the
So
parchment.
he's way more into the paper.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You have to ask him again.
Let us draw your attention to the design that's on this beautiful piece of parchment.
Oh, well, that it looks like a rubbing of some sort. Is that
Yeah.
Elven? What is that? Elvish?
Well, we have an elf, and they weren't able to decipher it.
Oh, interesting.
We might.
But
need
we
a
do
new
have a
They
elf.
thought it
substandard
might
elf.
be Elvish, but it wasn't an Elvish that they understood. But
Well,
He's not very bright.
It's very fancy. Interesting. It's a very poor job rubbing too. My goodness.
it is, and someone smeared it all over the place too.
Yeah.
I mean, look here. Yes, it's destroyed nearly.
It was pristine for a while, and then someone got into it, and you know how those
Frankly,
things happen. But
this isn't good parchment for rubbing. To be honest.
Oh.
no, it's much too thick, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Huh. Well, I'm stumped.
Show him one of our good
Yeah,
rubbings.
it doesn't seem.
Yeah,
What
I'll show him the
about
rock
this
I have.
Don't
I
guess
said, I think
Morgott.
this is my interpretation of that very same rubbing that we did before the rubbing was unfortunately smeared.
Oh, so he stopped and goes, "Well, this must be very important. You've put it in stone, and someone has put it on this very expensive piece of parchment. What was this from, if you don't mind me asking?"
You've never seen it before?
This
This sign?
Writing?
You've never seen it before?
I have not. No.
Have you ever seen anything like it?
I've seen many scrawlings along a map. Some did resemble this, especially I was reading a book once that had similar things, but I'm not familiar with
What
it.
if we told you that we found this carved on a stone on the island that we had just finished exploring?
When you went back
Dun,
out,
dun,
you did more
dun.
exploration and didn't bring me along. Oh, well, I can't say
Well-
I'm not disappointed, but was
No,
this
the captain wanted you to stay behind on that one.
Oh, well. Oh, dear. Okay. But, well,
Our elf needed to go out for a walk.
not the same design as the things that we were around, but I'm not as familiar with language as I am with land and sea, so I can understand. I believe that. I would believe that if you told me that.
I'll do the best I can to describe this stone thing to him and ask him if he'd seen anything like this on any of his travels throughout these lands.
This possibly we see a lot of things. There's another island we came across about 7 months ago. I think it had some ruins like this as well.
In
with
which
this sort of
direction
thing.
was it?
Well, we're heading that way. It's to the southeastern seas.
Was Thorgal with you on that island?
Yes. Yeah. He's been with us for a few
You know if
seasons.
he saw the markings as well?
I assume he did. Yeah, I think he would have. Before you all were brought on, some others escorted me from time to time.
Does the ship traditionally put in at this island to the southeast, or do we?
No,
are
we'd taken it on as a mapping session for one of the small baronies down there. They had claimed a bit out to sea and needed some reason to levy taxes against recouping for some sort of pirate raiding going on. So we had to make
Well,
sure the
you
map
make a habit of not only mapping, but you sketch things you see. Do you have a sketch of that stone that you saw on this other island to the southeast?
Oh no, it's so mysterious that the battery died. We were just about to solve the mystery. No,
I know we were, and the battery
You'll
died.
have to
Now
tune
it's
in
all
next week,
silent.
kids.
And that's where we have to end our evening tonight. So thank you to everyone for coming. He does say, he says, and I am going to end it quite shortly. Two more things, though. For one, one of them, he says, yes, I believe I did take some drawings of the area. I don't know if I had this writing in particular. It was a little complex, but they had a very interesting archway architecture that I did capture in drawing. I would love to show it to you. So let me get it. And he turns around to go get it. And as he does, the front of the ship sort of like bounces down against a wave. And you hear someone from the crow's nest ahead go, "In flight, the sky." And you turn that way and you see 3 or 4 winged figures coming in.
Yes. Yes.
But that's where
Well,
we're
what does the
stopping
guy
for the
do?
evening. That is where we're stopping
Let's
for the
kill it.
evening, Michael.
No.
Yes, we have to stop here.
Why the fuck did we need to talk to this guy forever? Oh my god! Had
what
to look
the-
at his tramp
what
stamp
does-
like for an hour.
That's a
What does
different
the
color.
crow's nest guy say?
Ah.
I had a lag spike.
Oh,
What did he say?
he pointed out something ahead of the ship into the skies, and you saw 3 flying figures coming in. That reminds you a
very good.
lot of the 3 figures that came in off the ship when you were in Ven on the ship, the harpies that were scared off.
Didn't we have
So
a
they
hard
don't
time
look
with
bad.
those harpies?
Mhm.
Yes,
I seem to recall they
that
kicked
was
our
before.
butts.
That was before the mysterious elven cloak. So I'm sure we'll be okay.
The
Yeah.
Elven Cloak will fix
Plus,
it
we're
all.
level 8 now.
Look, so I know that it would be great to end on this combat, but and not have to have set up all of this intrigue and story, but I don't know. I write stories and it happens sometimes. So I'm sorry that we did not get to roll initiative, Michael, but we at least know that you're going to get to hear that as we start our next game.
Just let him go ahead and roll initiative, and then we'll call it.
I just mark it on the paper.
And Jen needs to include a description of this greasy paper guy in the note.
Okay.
And we
Okay,
obviously want to get a look when we can of the drawing of the archway. Maybe
I
a
will.
cell phone picture too.
I can do that.
Unfortunately, one of these harpy things, that's the first target, is the navigator. He's gone.
Yeah, well, they'll have to go below decks, right? We're below decks, aren't we?
No, he's just coming out. He's gone into the doors. So he's actually safe. at
We
this
kick him
exact
downstairs again.
moment. Close the door behind him. And,
Close the door behind him, see?
Are the harpies coming from the southeast? Because that would be perfect.
Yes. Yes, they are.
Well, I mean, that's the direction. Well, you're heading. They're coming from the south for sure. So
Oh, good.
yes,
Yeah, that's wonderful.
yeah. There's a lot of stuff. So it is unbelievable in my mind how much you all unwrapped during that. There was a lot of storytelling. You just kept picking up all the threads. So it
We
just
did.
happens that way sometimes. I'm excited as a person writing adventure, and also, saddened a little bit.
All we
for-
got is a handful of damn thread. You realize that? None of us knots or weave anything, so
I don't know. I feel like you got enough thread to weave all kinds of things. Some of them might be totally
sure,
wrong.
if we could weave, no one's got a weave skill. If we got the de-threading skill, that's it. That's all we got.
So, But thank you, everyone, for partaking in this. Thank you for watching out there. I definitely want to say I look forward to this unraveling farther, since we're talking about thread. I'm going to let everybody say their what they need to say goodbye and what they might want to plug, because I know many of them are doing things in the coming weeks. I'll start with Bobby in the upper left this week.
Nothing to plug, but I want to say thanks to Frank, and I hope Anne feels better. And that was super fun and puzzling. We need to remember to ask the captain about this island to the southeast. We need to do that. Thanks for watching. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Gene.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks, Justin. Sorry Ann couldn't be here. Thanks, everybody else. Thanks for watching us fumble through this. We're just trying to figure our way, but we'll get there. And I had a great time as always, and looking forward to next week for sure, or next session for sure, not next week. But thank you.
Thank you, Gene. Jason.
No, next week's Adepticon.
Loser.
Oh.
Jason.
I smell that envy.
Well, thanks, everybody. I, too, hope Ann feels better. Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Frank. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Make sure to catch us on the Crow's Nest Tuesday, right? Yeah. We might have a even more of a surprise in a couple Tuesdays from now to show you on the Crow's Nest.
Ooh.
I thought you were maybe going to broadcast from my studio at some point.
Oh,
also,
dude,
we have a Bone 6 Kickstarter. I just heard about this today, and I have to start sculpting because in 2 weeks we have apparently a Kickstarter coming up. So
are you doing?
I'm hoping I'll get
the
done
lighthouse?
with that. Yeah, I'm doing the lighthouse and the narwhal.
Oh, excellent. Is the lighthouse somehow on the narwhal's back in a very
And
Terry
oddly
Pratchett
enough,
sort
a whole
of way?
bunch of harpies. I don't know how Frank knew, but anyway. So lots of news coming out. Pay attention. Make sure and watch Bird with a Brush. Make sure and watch all of the Fine Reaper programming and all the Nightheart Gaming programming.
Thank you, Jason. Michael.
Thanks to everyone. Thanks, Frank, for writing such a fantastic story with lots of dialogue.
and tattoos, Michael.
And tramp stamp tattoos that Pugh had to ogle for like an hour and ask questions about.
Rub his fingers over.
Get him down.
You want to memorize every line.
He could look at his tramp stamp. Yeah, fantastic. No, it was fun. It's always fun. It's always fun. Crow's Nest is on Tuesday. I think we're going to have Ron on. We're going to talk a little bit about Bone 6. We might be able to show off some stuff, and I'm trying to work.
If we get it done in
Justin
time, I don't know
help.
if we'll get it done in time. We each are doing at least 2 figures.
Wow.
Right. And
it's going to be a 6-figure Kickstarter.
Yeah, maybe we can get some. Maybe we'll have an exclusive reveal on the Crow's Nest. Yeah, I don't know.
Exciting.
And definitely check out Bird with the Brush. It's on Mondays. It's a far superior show due to talent and education level. Also,
plus it's 2 hours long. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah, right. Double
Twice
the content.
The show.
Twice the show, and
twice the charisma.
She doesn't do
Half
a good
price.
enough. And you'll notice that the guy in the upper left doesn't have a show at all. That's for obvious reasons from the charisma level.
You got no argument from me.
But Bird with the Brush has a blog, and talk about using words. Rhonda knows how to use her words and use a lot of them. She doesn't, there's no running out of words with that one. But a great post on the Bone 6.
That's a ringing endorsement.
Prepping on that first little exclusive miniatures with the set. It's fantastic. Good job, Rhonda.
Well, thank you.
Oh, and thanks everybody for
Unlike the rest of
watching.
you, I was not an art major. I was an English major.
Thanks for the scenes. Thanks for all the painted miniatures. Thanks for all the great painted monsters that we didn't get to fight on this episode.
That we imagined.
Could you imagine? Well, I didn't want to put like an actual tattooed mini in front of you to ogle. That would be.
We enjoyed painted NPCs instead of monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you, Michael. Rhonda.
Right.
Thank you, everyone, for showing up and watching our shenanigans. We were pretty shenanigan-y tonight, I think. And thank you, Frank. I enjoy the mysteries. So, I mean, I enjoy rolling initiative. I'm not going to say as much as the next guy, because clearly that's not true. But I do enjoy the mystery, even if I am bad at solving them. So thank you for that. And I tell Anne we said hi. And I can't promise any exclusives or anything on Beyond the Kit, but we'll do something.
Oh,
Yeah.
exciting. We can all hope. Thank you. Jen.
Thank you all. Had a great time as always, and I'm looking forward to next time.
Thank you, Jen. So,
and I'm looking forward to Kaylee's journal and documenting all the excitement that we just encountered in this.
I'm
tonight's
telling
episode.
you, Michael, what did not go by as excitement for you, Kay somehow has a way of making it exciting, and it is amazing.
I'm sure it'll be very much elaborate detail on the tramp stamp. That's what I'm looking forward to. And
She's going to take all those
in-depth
and figure it out.
analysis.
I think
Yeah,
Aberrant's
You know what
gonna get a
Michael's going to
tramp
show up
stamp
with, don't you?
T-shirt.
You know what Michael's next tattoo is. You already
Aberrant's
know.
Bane.
It's made an
Yeah.
impression.
Yeah, I know Michael's next tattoo.
An inside-out compass.
Be my first tattoo.
I got a tattoo machine. Come on by.
Yeah. Well, we could do that on the crow's
Hey.
nest.
Yeah.
So
but
there are probably some rules against that. I don't know. So
Not in Washington.
I meant on Twitch. So thank you for attending this. I will be.
What about Jen?
Jen. I did say Jen, right? Did I miss?
Jen said goodbye.
Yes.
Good
No,
night.
you did not leave me out. I just don't talk as much as these guys.
Yeah.
It was like 10 seconds and out.
She is very
Mic drop.
I wanted to
efficient.
know where the blog was.
She's precise and efficient. Yeah, well,
Oh, there's a thing we can type to make the blog come up. Hold on. Let me see.
yeah.
That's what I was
believe that
curious
John
about.
created a
Everybody else
command for it.
shielded their stuff, so
yeah.
I don't
Justin's
know what the command
asleep.
is, though.
Oh, I did it right. There's the link.
Nope,
There it
I'm
is.
here.
thank you.
Right.
There it
The
is,
words.
Case Journal. So
That's what I was trying to get to. Thank you.
that is it, yeah. And that is Kay's perspective through all of this. And Jen writes, wow, I don't know how Jen thinks of this blog. If it's purely through, I know it's through Kay's eyes, but I don't know if it's Kay's
Yes.
writing it. But it is super enjoyable. And every time I read it, I look forward to, it makes me feel like I'm doing a better job than I am every time. So I super appreciate it. For me, thank you. The Dungeons and Dramaturgy Season 3 starts on Nightheart Gaming tomorrow with a Session 0. So if you've never seen a Session 0 and you're interested in that sort of thing, we'll play very little D&D, but maybe even more dice rolling than we did here tonight. So join us there. And that's all I have to say. Just enormous thank yous to all the players and all the viewers and to Reaper Miniatures. And again, the Sirenscape for the background and ambient sounds you heard today. And then I'm handing it off to Justin for raids and information.
Thank you again, everyone, for watching, and thank you, Frank. And thank you all to all the artists, of course, for spending your Friday night here. I don't have much in terms of announcements other than don't forget Bone 6 is coming up here in a couple of weeks, and we're going to be doing some streams for that. And thank you so much. That's great. Oh, good. We have a picture of the donut. I'm glad that we. On that note, we're going to
Is
be
it
rating
still
Holly
gone?
Monsters,
Did the movers
so,
take it from you, Gene?
I just have to find it.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you on Monday.
Thank you.
What?
Wave, everybody. Wave
Good
the
night,
donut.
everyone.
Wave the donut. There we go.
Wave the donut. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Oh, it's gone.
It's the donut.
Hey,
Done it